ready to go settle this thing right now.
It's time to go racing. We're just going to stand on the gas.
Not yet.
Go.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
For the final time of 1990, 41 cars fire to life as we get set to bring you live coverage of the Atlanta Journal 500 from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to the final race of 1990. Since the green flag dropped at Daytona February 18th, a total of 109 drivers have searched a total of 11,179 miles for the Winston Cup Trophy, the prestige, and the $1 million that goes with it. And today, either Dale Earnhardt or Mark Martin will win that championship. Now, unlike previous years, neither driver can lay back. They both have to fight each other for the title. Now, is there a favorite for this race? Well, Dale Earnhardt has led 78% of the last 1,000 miles here at this track. Mark Martin has never led a lap here at Atlanta. And now for the final time of 1990, for their analysis, here are Ned and Benny.
Bob, the strategy's gone out the window. They got to go out there and try to outrun each other and try to win this race. But, Benny, the last couple of weeks, the Martin team, you wonder about them.
Boy, I tell you what, they have done more work the last 2 weeks than all year. It looks like on Tuesday after the Phoenix race, Robert Yates called Ford, is there anything I can do? They relayed that to Jack Roush. He had Robert Yates bring a car and Jake Elder to Atlanta. On Thursday, the Roush team used that car. Mark Martin loved it. And, folks, that's the car that Mark Martin's going to drive in today's final race.
Benny, I wouldn't have had the guts to go away from what got me to where they are in the championship. Be interesting to see if they made a mistake.
There's no doubt. It's a real gamble. Isn't it, Jerry Bunch?
Indeed it is, Benny Parsons. You know, what other chance do they have? I mean, given their record here, they have no other choice. But, you know, as one crew member told me, desperate people do desperate things. But this ace in the hole could be their Achilles heel. Why? Because it's an unfamiliar race car. And to give you an example why it's unfamiliar, take a look at this wire right here I'm holding in my hand. It's a bypass wire that Robert Yates Racing Team uses around the ignition box. When Mark Martin went out to qualify, this wire actually melted in the car and created a fire in the car. They had to go in and rewire the car. They didn't even know it was there. Robert Pemberton and the team know this wire existed, but it's something Robert Yates' team uses that they have never used. So a lot of unknowns today for Mark Martin. A different car, a radically different design, a different race engine, and a chance to win a championship. Let's go to John Kernan.
Well, Jerry, the points championship is all fine and dandy, but, you know, there are 39 other guys out here on the racetrack who would like to grab some headlines. And leading the pack, Rusty Wallace, who, by the way, is starting the race from the pole. Rusty is in his last race as the defending Winston Cup champion. Talked to him this morning. They feel that they have got something to prove in their final race defending the title. So, Bob, I look for Rusty to go out and set a blistering pace early.
Thank you very much, John. And again, good afternoon, everybody. Get set for championship Winston Cup racing. Let's take a look at the racetrack they're going to be competing on. It's 1.522 miles in length. This pole speed was 175.2 at a time of 31.2 seconds. The banking is 24 degrees. We'll race 328 laps here this afternoon, and there was a 4.7 mile an hour separation from the fastest to the slowest. And here is the starting lineup for the Atlanta Journal 500. The pole sitter's second consecutive time in Winston Cup competition, Rusty Wallace. In the number 27 Miller Genuine Draft Pontiac. He, of course, is from St. Louis, Missouri. Outside the front row, in the Budweiser Banquet Ford, Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York, car number 11. Alan Kowicki starts inside the second row in the Xerox Ford number 7. Alongside will be Davey Allison from Hueytown, Alabama, in the number 28 Texaco Haviland Ford. Darrell Waltrip starts in 5th position in the tied Exxon Slim Fast Chevrolet, alongside Dale Earnhardt, the points leader by 6 going into this race. Brett Bodine and Ernie Irvin will go from row number 4. The 5th row starters include Bill Elliott and Ricky Rudd. And in the 6th row on the inside, Mark Martin and the number 33 car of Harry Gant. You ask every driver participating in this race, You asked Dale Earnhardt. You asked Mark Martin. We talked about it in our production meeting before last evening. But, gentlemen, this isn't just another race. This is the final one, and we'll decide the championship.
$1 million at stake between Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. Benny Parsons, you went for a championship, had to win it in the last race. The two that I won, I had them sewed up before I got there. But what kind of pressure's on those fellas?
It's unbelievable. You just can't imagine the pressure these two guys are feeling today. But at least one of them doesn't have to just finish. At least they can race each other for the win.
We are riding with Mark Martin. He will carry one of 3 in-car cameras this afternoon in the race. 500 miles of competition. As you can see, he's lined up right behind Bill Elliott in the number 9 car. Dick Trickle will carry another one of our cars. And you can see the Folgers Ford right up ahead. And Alan Kowicki will carry our Jason Binoculars in-car camera today. There is the pole sitter, Rusty Wallace. All eyes are on the field as it goes down the backstretch. We should be getting the green flag this time around. About 4:30 this afternoon, we'll sign off and end the 1990 season. And at that time, we will know whether Dale Earnhardt or Mark Martin carries the championship for the 1990 season as the winner of the Winston Cup. 41 cars are in the field. Anything can happen in the next 3 hours. A sold-out crowd here at Atlanta Motor Speedway rises to its feet as we get set for the drop of the green flag and the start of the Atlanta Journal 500. The battle up front is between Davey Allison and Rusty Wallace. Rusty led lap number 1, but now as they go out of turn number 2 and down the backstretch, Davey Allison in a Ford leads the Atlanta Journal 500 with Wallace second. Jeff Bodine runs third, followed by Alan Kowicki and then Darrell Waltrip, the top 5.
Now you can understand why the Davey Allison, his car was the one that Jack Roush decided to use. The other car, the number 2 car, this is Davey's number 1 car, leading the race.
The championship contenders are 7 and 10. Earnhardt, 7th. Mark Martin running 10th at the completion of 2.5 laps.
Davey Allison was very fast in practice. Thought he had a shot at the pole, but didn't quite make it. But has shown very quickly here that that Ford is going to be strong.
There's Dale Earnhardt. He's right behind Fred Bodine. In 7th position.
He has lost 1 position, started in 6th, so he's still okay.
The 6-point difference between Earnhardt and Mark Martin. Mark right now lying back in 10th spot, and the number 6 Folgers Ford behind him is Ricky Rudd as Davey Allison leads him off turn 4 to complete another lap.
We heard Mark Martin back off the drum. We heard him get back on the drum. Atlanta coming off the corners about 170 miles an hour, accelerated down in turn 1, 190 miles an hour at that point.
Next to the 2.5-mile super speedways at Daytona and Talladega, this is the 3rd fastest racetrack on the Winston Cup schedule.
And a good track to settle the championship on, Benny. It's a driver's racetrack. Each track on the turn takes up a half a mile each. Each straightaway is only a quarter of a mile. So the driver very definitely comes into play because he has to have a good car, too.
Exactly. What a great driver's racetrack this is.
There's Dale Earnhardt. Brett Bodine and Earnhardt have now closed in on Darrell Waltrip running in 5th position. There was a bit of a separation, and now Brett Bodine in the number 26 car looking for the position just ahead of Dale Earnhardt. The 17 car of Darrell Waltrip and the 26 of Brett Bodine. Darrell Waltrip is trying to keep alive a 15-year winning streak. He has not won so far in 1990 and would love to take home the checkered flag here this afternoon. Bodine moving to the inside of Darrell, trying to come down the straightaway. But Brett Bodine, the winner of North Wilkesboro earlier in the year, falls into position. And now with Waltrip's car sliding high on the 24 degrees of banking, Brett Bodine takes away that spot from Darrell Waltrip, and here comes Earnhardt.
You will see here's Earnhardt coming under Darrell Waltrip. You'll see drivers using different lines on this racetrack, and earlier than we see them on most racetracks. Depending on how the car is set up, it's a wide racetrack in the turns, about 3 different grooves, but there's always one groove that a particular car will work better than any other place on the racetrack, so they'll search it out and find the groove that works best for their car.
Earnhardt is now 6th. Mark Martin is still 10th as Ernie Irvin goes to the inside now of Darrell Waltrip in turn number 2, and they battle wheel to wheel down the backstretch. Ernie Irvin, boy, what a turnaround he has had since the beginning of this year, taking over that Morgan McClure car here at Atlanta earlier in the year. He has made great strides in that car on the Winston Cup circuit.
Of course, he has one win, finished 3rd in his very first race in that car in Atlanta back in March.
And that's what we mean when we say a driver's racetrack. The cars can run all over. We can see Ernie Irvin in the yellow car on the bottom. Darrell Waltrip in the 17 on top. Bill Elliott now tries to go by on the outside.
Mark Martin moves inside of Elliott as they go wheel to wheel. Martin beginning to make his move now. That's the best race on the track at the moment. Mark Martin on the inside, and the number 9 of Bill Elliott to the high side of the racetrack as Mark tries to gain a spot.
Can't make the pass. Here comes Hud Strickland, the red 12, trying to get alongside Ricky Rudd, and does.
Good battle early in the going here at the Advanced Atlanta Journal 500. And remember, not only is the Winston Cup Championship going to be decided here, but just about every driver out there in the field has something that he has to achieve. Either a movement up or down in points and the gain of several more $1,000.
Winner's circle for several of them. In fact, there are about 5 different drivers that are fighting for the last spot on the winner's circle for next year, which can mean at least $250,000.
And if for nothing else, they're simply trying to impress a sponsor that might get them a full-time ride for 1991. Elliott now passing Darrell Waltrip on the inside in turn number 4.
And it looks like there's trouble on Kyle Petty's car as he comes off of turn 4. A lot of smoke from the car number 42, and the yellow flag is out.
The yellow is out for the first time as Kyle slows here on the main straightaway. You can see smoke pouring from the back end of the Peak Pontiac, the winner at Rockingham earlier in the year.
And Benny, he is one of those drivers. We'll watch the race to the line, but Kyle Petty was one of those drivers that was fighting for one of those winner's circle spots. He is in 6th, or was, coming into the point into this race.
So the Atlanta Journal 500 is underway here, and we will be back with more of our live coverage after this. In the early going of the Atlanta Journal 500, the leader, Davey Allison, followed by Rusty Wallace, Jeff Bodine, Alan Kowicki, and running 5th at the moment is Brett Bodine. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is One Tough Motor Oil. By Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when. And by Parts Plus, for name brands you can rely on. Go to Parts Plus, America's family of auto parts stores. Davey Allison, the leader of the race, has come in. Here's John Kernan.
Bob, Davey had radioed in after the caution came out. The car was acting just a little bit loose, so they will change right side tires. They'll also put in around a wedge in the left rear. Quick stop. Davey is already down and away. Car was loose. They wanted to tighten it up just a little bit for him.
So the guy that was leading the early stages of the race comes in, and so does Darrell Waltrip.
Now that one doesn't surprise me, Bob, because Darrell was going backwards a little bit. Let's go to the pits and Jerry Punch.
Indeed, Darrell's car was very, very loose. They have come in and changed right side, now left side tire. I talked to Jeff Hammond a minute ago. This caution flag is a godsend for them because it's a lot warmer down here right now than they thought it would be today. In fact, the temperature is 15 degrees cooler, and Walter's car very loose, and hopefully he'll get it corrected now.
Davey Allison's car stalled down at the end of pit road for some reason.
Yep, he's got it going now, but the car stalled just after he got out of the pit lane. Now the car seems to be working all right.
He got out of the pits very quickly, but has lost at least a half a dozen positions when he stalled down there because those others that made pit stops too went on by him while he was sitting there.
So the yellow flag remains out here at Atlanta because of a blown engine on the Kyle Petty car. Back with more from Atlanta in a moment. Be decided this afternoon here at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the Atlanta Journal 500. Let's check the top 15 at the moment. Rusty Wallace now in the lead. Jeff Bodine second, followed by Alan Kowicki, Brett Bodine, and Dale Earnhardt, the points leader in fifth position. Followed by Ernie Irvin, Bill Elliott, Mark Martin is eighth, and Hud Strickland and Derek Cope in 11 through 15. Ricky Rudd, Ken Schrader, Dick Trickle, Harry Gant, and Bobby Hamilton in car number 68. As we get set in just a few moments to go back to green flag, we are under yellow because of an incident involving Kyle Petty, an engine letting go here on the main straightaway. And then Davey Allison, who was leading the race, came in for a pit stop, stalled going out. Let's get an update from John.
Well, Bob, the reason he stalled, Joey Knuckles, a crew member on the team, said you've got concrete here on pit road where the cars pit, and then it's asphalt down the actual surface of pit road. Davey was half on, half off, and Joey said that the reason he tried to baby the clutch just a little bit too much because he didn't want it to grab, since one tire was on concrete, the other was on asphalt, they might tear up the rear end. But that was the reason he stalled. He just tried to baby it out just a little bit too much.
Okay, he has gotten back underway and is in line now for the restart, but we will not go green this next time around. The track crew is still out there looking at the surface to make sure that there is no more oil on the racetrack, and they're putting down oil dry where they need to. So we will take another break and get as many out of the way as we possibly can to bring you all the action of this championship decision here in Atlanta. Of course, there is Unocal bonus money on the line here this afternoon for Rusty Wallace, $45,600 in bonus money if he can also win the race. And Goodyear will be donating a check for $1,000 to the Winston Cup Racing Wives Auxiliary in the name of our pole sitter, Rusty Wallace.
And Rusty Wallace is the only driver that can collect the $45,600. If he doesn't win the race, the Daytona 500 will be worth another $7,600. Added to the 45.6, how much is that real quick, Bob?
I haven't got my calculator ready yet.
53,200, folks.
Thank you. A lot of loose race cars here in the early going. Jerry, what about that?
Well, indeed, we've already seen Darrell Waltrip slip back in the field a little bit. Indeed, Dale Earnhardt and some other guys are fighting some loose cars. Richard, why?
Well, we got some tires on it we qualified with. This set's a little more open to make the car go fast in qualifying. As soon as we get a chance to get them off on the next stop, I think you'll see a lot of other cars pick up also.
Didn't take advantage of the first caution flag. Track position, that's the reason?
Well, we didn't want to lose that much track position. We knew a lot of cars wouldn't stop only 10 laps into the race. We'll wait till we get at least 40 or 50 on the tires probably.
So 50 laps or so, they'll come in, make that first pit stop, get 4 tires, then be able to adjust the chassis and to watch them take off.
All right, so the yellow flag remains out. Still drying up the oil laid down by Kyle Petty. Back after this. ESPN Speed World on hand at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the restart of the Atlanta Journal 500. There's the green flag back underway on lap number 21. Earnhardt is on the move. He moves to the inside of Brett Bodine in a battle for 4th position.
That's that patented restart, isn't it, Eddie? He seems like he gets a better start than anyone on a restart at the start of the race.
His timing is so great on those restarts. That's one thing, and I don't know, I've said all year that he must have a very special transmission, and there's certainly one that fits his driving style because he does always get a good restart.
Mark Martin as we ride inside with him. You can see Earnhardt ahead. There's the green car of Bodine, and then Ernie Irvin, and then Bill Elliott. So Rusty has Dale in sight, but right now Earnhardt is ahead on the racetrack.
And that's a sight that Mark Martin can't see all day. As long as he can see that car in front of him, he can't win the championship. He has to look up in the mirror and see him. The rear view mirror, that is.
Here's Alan Kulwicki in a battle for second position, going to the inside of Jeff Bodine. And here comes Earnhardt right behind Alan. He may take both of these guys on the inside between turns 3 and 4. He's way down low on the racetrack.
Boy, he really kicked up some dust down on the inside of the racetrack. Almost got in the side of Bodine.
Well, I tell you, he has to have a lot of confidence in that Chevrolet to drive it down there like that. He does have, but he makes the pass.
Earnhardt is third. And if there was anybody out on the racetrack, and for that matter in the stands, that does consider this just another race, get in the car and stand on the gas, maybe it's Dale Earnhardt, because that's what he's doing, moving to the front.
And right behind him, we see the Bodine brothers, Jeff and Brett, the red car number 11. There's the 6, trying to be past Hutch Strickland, the red 12, trying to get by Mark Martin.
That's a Buick owned by Bobby Allison, now doing battle with Mark Martin in the Jack Roush Ford. Or is it the Robert Yates Ford? Anyway, it's the Ford driven by Mark Martin. There you can see on the super speedways this season, his average finishing position, 8.4.
Car seems to be working good right now. You can see him come off the turn. I'm talking about Mark Martin, the car number 6, with that chassis, which is a little different design than what they've been running all year long.
Mark is in 8th position, and Dale Earnhardt is in 3rd. Behind the leader, Rusty Wallace. In 2nd place, Alan Kulwicki. And there you can see Dale's average super speedway finishing position. And just ahead of Dale are Wallace and Kulwicki. Closes in quickly on Allen. Now only about a car length and a half separate Earnhardt from 2nd position.
When the race started, Davey Allison, who started 4th, took the lead and was driving away. The caution flag came out. Davey made a pit stop. Only one of 5 or 6 cars to stop. Now he's back in the back, working his way through traffic, and this is the fight for the lead.
Bumper cam on the Alan Kulwicki car looking back to Dale Earnhardt, and you can see he goes low on the track and tries to pull alongside of Allen.
While we watch that battle for the Bobby Hamilton fans, he is in the pits. He's scheduled to run for Rookie of the Year honors next year in Winston Cup racing, but is in the pits now in the Country Town Pontiac.
24 degrees of banking here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Just recently purchased by Bruton Smith, and already a lot of improvements at this major racing facility near Atlanta. We're about 30 miles south of Atlanta.
And he told the fans in the pre-race ceremonies, Bob said, "You ain't seen nothing yet." And when you consider what he's done at Charlotte Motor Speedway, I think there will be big changes when we come back here next year.
Once again, Earnhardt on the low side of the racetrack, falling in behind Alan Kulwicki. You can see the car dance around on the banking.
Look, we're talking about 170, 80 miles an hour through that banking, and that makes the car, the surface is not as smooth as you would think, and that makes the car bounce up and down. Look at the car. Look at the tires go back and forth.
First 3 positions here, Wallace, Kulwicki, and Earnhardt. If you're just joining us at the 1 o'clock hour, the race is 29 laps old. Dale Earnhardt, the points leader, is 3rd, and Mark Martin is in 8th position. There's Mark in the Folgers Ford. You could not have pictured a better day. It is absolutely beautiful here this afternoon. Sunshine, temperatures probably will reach the low 70s, and thousands of race fans have gathered here in Atlanta to watch this final shootout for the 1990 season.
And how could you have written a better script than these fellows? 6 points separating 1st and 2nd.
It hasn't been like that in the last few years. One driver, for instance, last year, all Rusty Wallace had to do was finish, what, 15, 18, something like that, and the championship was his, but it's not the way it is today. Earnhardt and Martin are going to have to race each other with a separation of only 6 points.
And look, Earnhardt has dropped back to a couple of car lengths. He was right on the back bumper of Kwiatkowski just a few laps ago, backing up a little bit.
Not quite as strong as he was in the earlier going.
The in-car camera, the Jason Monoca's in-car, Alan Kwiatkowski's car.
Elliott and Irving running side by side down into turn number 1.
And that's Bill Elliott trying to pass Ernie Irvin.
That would be for 6th position.
And Mark Martin right behind trying to figure out which guy's going to outrun which. He will follow him, but right now it's a dead heat.
Boy, you've got to treat these championship contenders with a lot of respect. I mean, you've got to give them more racing room, perhaps today, than any other race because they're going for the championship. We sample drivers' opinion of what they do when racing with a title contender.
You're going to have to play them a little cognizant. You know, I mean, I'm going to race them awful hard. We're 10th in points, and the mathematically lose to 5th. So we don't have $1 million in line, but we got a couple $100,000, which is considering I've never got a point check before. It means a lot to me, but. You know, we're just going to have to be real careful. If we are passing them, I mean, you don't want to rub them to cut a tire down, or they could cut a tire and maybe get spun or something like that. So, you know, we're going to have to treat them with a lot of respect. And, you know, hopefully I'm going to be in that situation next year and they'll be the same for us.
I'm going to race. They can be careful around me. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, they're the ones that's going to have to do what they got to do. All I need to do is race. You know, I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize them, but I'm still going to race. You know, it's going to be up to them to do what they need to do. The guys from 6th place in the points as well, they have a tremendous battle going on. There's only like 90 points separating those guys. You think they're going to let off or give way to somebody? They're going to race hard all day long with a net group. So there's no room out there for favors or letting off, giving way. Well, he's so-and-so, I'll let him go. If we do that, if we ever start doing that, if our mindset lets us do that, Junior Johnson, Budweiser, they'll get someone else to drive that car.
This weekend is Chevrolets against Fords as well as Mark against Dale. So whether you like or dislike either one of them, whatever the situation there is, we need to win the Manufacturers Cup. That's important to me as a new owner. I want to be on the Chevrolet team next year, and I want to be a big part of that. And if I can win a race here Sunday for Chevrolet and make Mark run second or somebody else, that is be perfect for me.
So, yeah, you do have to give the championship contenders room out there, but each and every driver has something going for him this afternoon.
I think it was very poetic that Ernie Irvin was talking when he gave Mark Martin a break. As we saw just a moment ago, Mark came off the second corner and really came up the hill faster than he should have, but Ernie backed up and let him take the spot away.
Rusty Wallace and Alan Kwiatkowski are running 1st and 2nd, and then running in 3rd position is Dale Earnhardt, the points leader in Winston Cup competition. Mark Martin currently running in 7th. There are the top 5 point leaders and where they are running right now in the Atlanta Journal 500. Top 15 with 36 laps completed. Wallace, Kwiatkowski, Earnhardt, Jeff and Brett Bodine. 6 through 10, Elliott Martin, Irvin, Strickland, and Copeland. 11 through 15, Schrader, Rudd, Jarrett, Gantz, and Trickle. Have joined the Winston Cup circuit this year in one way or another to compete in one of the 29 races. This is the final one of the year at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll decide the championship this afternoon between Earnhardt and Mark Martin. Riding with Alan Kwiatkowski, he's in 2nd position, just behind Rusty Wallace, and you can see traffic that Rusty is going to be approaching the lap. Behind Alan is Dale Earnhardt. Davey Allison led the race, came in for a pit stop under caution, and now has been threading his way back up through the race. And look at this. Earnhardt now looks to the inside of Allen off the 4th turn.
Yeah, it looks like Earnhardt stayed back there all he wants to. He said, I think I'm going to go to the front.
I believe he has a little bit more car than he has shown up to this point. And look at him in traffic now. He's going to try to make the move. Boy, he don't mind just sticking it in there wherever, whenever.
That was Jim Bound in number 57. That was the car on the low side of the racetrack.
Meanwhile, the Bodine brothers have caught up to this pack. Evidently, Rusty Wallace is a little bit off the pace, not running that well.
I believe he is backing up just a little bit as far as his speed is concerned, Benny.
It's going to be very important here for Dale Earnhardt to pass Rusty Wallace, add 5 more points onto the advantage, and there he goes to the inside of Rusty. Earnhardt has the lead, but remember, we'll have to cross the scoring line to get the 5 points.
Well, I'll tell you, that was impressive. He went down in that turn, turned that thing left, and it stuck. He just drove right around it. That's bad news for the rest of the teams here this afternoon.
Especially Mark Martin.
Here's Kowicki trying to get by Rusty Wallace. Can't do it. Here comes Earnhardt. 5 bonus points.
There it is.
So now he has an 11-point lead.
Making it even tougher on Mark Martin.
And we said at the top of the show that Mark Martin, you said, Bob, that he has never led a lap here in Atlanta.
There is Mark. And let's update the bonus point situation. And when you really get down to analyzing things, this is what has Earnhardt in the lead. The 160 bonus points that he's accumulated during the entire season compared to Mark Martin's only 80. And again, the bonus points are for leading 1 lap and leading the most laps in the race. Mark Martin currently in 7th spot, while Earnhardt is the leader. Some good racing going on back in the pack. That's Ken Schrader to the left of your screen, and now the number 10 car of Derek Cope, and the driver who has made the largest move in the early going of the Atlanta Journal 500. That's Dale Jarrett in number 21, and the Atlanta Journal newspaper this morning printed that Ned Jarrett was going to be driving that. I thought maybe you'd abandon the booth, Ned.
Well, I wanted to, and I don't know. They said they would get the air conditioner fixed up here, so I decided to stay on it too.
Well, Dale is doing a fine job taking that car from starting position number 21. Let's go to Jerry Punch on pit road. Jerry?
Well, Dale Jarrett's move has not gone unnoticed out here among the crews. One of the Goodrich crew members a minute ago wrote me a note and said, hey, 21 car is coming in a hurry with a big smile. They put a lot of gear in that car yesterday when they re-qualified it. I talked to Dale Jarrett over towards the end of the car. They would like to be able to run well here today. They did not get a chance to test him when the Ford team tested last week because they were all out of testing day. But he started 21st and is getting close to cracking the top 10.
Yes, he is. Derek Cope is running in 10th position, and he's about 2.5, 3 car lengths behind Cope in 11. Dale Jarrett. Derek Cope started things off at Daytona with a win and has won it over since then. Behind those two come the pairing of Ernie Irvin and Ricky Rudd.
Now Irvin started in the 8th position. Ricky Rudd started in the 10th position. Now they are running the car number 4 of Ernie Irvin running in the 12th position. Rudd running 13th. Irvin's car seems to be a little loose as it goes into the turns, or that's the way it appeared to me. That he's drifting very high in the turns. Now Rudd comes down on the inside trying to make a move.
That probably is because he's letting the car go up the hill, let the bank catch the back end of the car, because if he turns the steering wheel, the car's going to spin out. You just have to let the car go up the bank, and that 24 degrees will keep that back end tucked in.
He's chasing it a little bit. Now Ricky Rudd chasing him. Tries to get him coming off the turn. He should be up beside of him as they go into turn 3.
And this is a battle for 12th position on the racetrack. They're in there wheel to wheel. Rudd with a slight advantage on the low side of the racetrack makes the pass.
I think Irvin got in there and he just backed off. He said, this car drives the way it is. I don't need to be racing that hard.
The Bodine brothers are going at it tooth and nail out there. Brett on the inside of the green Quaker State Buick number 26 and Jeff in the number 11 Budweiser Matsumoto.
Brett takes a spot away. Little brother, younger brother, passes the older brother. That's not the way it's supposed to be.
That moves Brett to 4th and Jeff back to 5th position as they come up on the number 2 car of Ted Musgrave.
There's Bill Elliott right behind Jeff behind. I felt going into this race before they came here this week, Bob, that Bill Elliott was going to be exceptionally strong in this race. As time goes by, he just might prove me right. We'll see.
Well, that was your prediction on Speed Week this week, that you thought Elliott and would be the top contenders here in Atlanta. But at the moment, it is Dale Earnhardt who is showing the way with a total of 51 of 328 laps completed. Earnhardt is the leader in the final race of the 1990 Winston Cup Championship. The most recognition between Earnhardt and Mark Martin, but also remember the Manufacturers Championship is on the line here this afternoon. Chevrolet comes in with a 3-point advantage over Ford, and the Ford people would certainly like to break that long string of manufacturers titles owned by Chevrolet.
Here comes Harry Gant down pit road. Looks like an unscheduled stop for Harry Gant.
Here's Darrell Waltrip now beginning to move back toward the front. He slipped back a few positions in the early going, but now he goes to the inside and passes Ernie Irvin, and that would be for 13th position. Darrell Waltrip moving to 13th.
And remember, Darrell is one of the cars that pitted on that first caution flag, so he started in the back and drove by all these cars.
There's Greg Sachs to the inside of Ernie Irvin. And now pit stops are going to be coming up before too many laps. Let's get some comment on that from Jerry. What do you think?
Actually, Harry Gant's stop was probably a planned pit stop, gentlemen. Many of the teams are preparing to come into the next 2 laps. Again, now exit pit road. We begin to see the Earnhardt crew getting ready to bring Dale Earnhardt down pit road. The concern here is that they have worked all year to generate more horsepower. That's Bodine. Yep, Brett Bodine now comes in with the Quaker St. Buick. He will get his first planned pit stop of the day. Earnhardt's crew pitting just in front of Brett Bodine, waiting for their driver to come in. They will change right side tires on Brett Bodine's car, check the left side tires, fill up the Quaker St. Buick with Unical gasoline, and he will be down and away. The Earnhardt crew would like to have him gone, and now Bodine's car is stalled. Earnhardt is coming down pit road. Rusty's on his way as well. We're waiting for Dale Earnhardt. Goodland Chevrolet to get into the pits. The crew expecting to change right side tires. Davey Smith, the crew. Rusty Wallace likewise pitting just in front of Earnhardt. They will change only the right side tires. They will check the left side tires, clean the windshield. Poetry in motion. 1 can of gas going in. 2nd can of fuel going in. Richard Childers making the chassis adjustment. Earnhardt is down and away. 12.6 seconds. Rusty Wallace likewise will follow him back to turn 1.
Other cars are coming in. Here comes Mark Martin in for his first scheduled pit stop. Let's go to John Kernan.
Folgers crew awaiting Mark Martin's arrival down here on pit road. We are anticipating they also will go with a 2-tire change on the right side. Mark slows down. He will come in. Yes, it will be a 2-tire change. They clean the windshield. Make sure they get that very clean. Clean off the front grille so it doesn't get into debris that might cause an overheating problem. First can of gas is in. The second can of gas going in. They also will make an adjustment on the right side. There is a crash, so the caution will likely be coming out.
Indeed, the yellow flag is out for the second time this afternoon. And involved in the crash was Pancho Carter, we believe, in car number 29.
57 is also involved in the crash. Jim Bound going slow down pit road.
Jim Bound has some damage on the Hines car as he tries to make it to his pit area, but the number 29 car, Pancho Carter, we believe, was also involved. Here's the tail end of the incident up in turn number 4.
A lot of smoke. It could be tire smoke as he spun down on the inside. In fact, one car on the high side and the other one down on the low side. And here comes Jim Bound in the car number 57. That was Pancho Carter. Apparently, looks like maybe an engine might have let go in that car. A lot of smoke there.
There was some damage to the left rear, like someone got in the back of that car.
Well, we were caused him to spin. We just saw green flag pit stops by Earnhardt and Martin, and now several will have the opportunity to come in and pit under caution.
Going to be a great break for those who had not come in, and so we'll have to check scoring and see if Earnhardt and them went a lap down, or if they stayed. We understand that Earnhardt did stay in the lead lap, and Mark Martin maybe as well.
And you can see there the indication being given that the pits for the moment are closed. However, they should be opening up in just a moment. There is Michael Waltrip's Country Time Pontiac that's very slow on the racetrack.
Well, maybe the mystery is solved, but, well, here comes Michael. So the pit road is open. He's making his pit stop.
The cars, remember, must line up behind the pace car, and the pace car must form the pack before the pits can be open under caution. We see Bill Elliott coming in for a pit stop. Among others, Hut Strickland is in, so is Dale Jarrett, Darrell Waltrip. Mark Martin is also on pit road as he'll make another pit stop and probably get left side tires. Earnhardt is right behind him. Let's go to John.
strategy is come in, you took right side tires just a lap or so ago before they came under caution. Mark is pulling the car into the pits. They will go left side right now. Also make sure that they get all the gasoline in the tank that they can. They also, on that last pit stop, they made a chassis adjustment on the right rear. Remember, we had commented that the car was loose a little bit. Now Mark will get out. Earnhardt also in the pit, also to take on 2 tires on the left side.
Earnhardt remains on pit road as the crew goes to work on the left side of that car. They having problems up there. Oh, we have a near spin on pit road just behind Dale Earnhardt as Derek Cope got sideways in the number 10 car. Oh, he did some damage to that car.
Yeah, you can see the damage, the heavy damage to the right front. Jerry Punch?
Well, actually, Brett Bodine was trying to get into his pits, and Derek Cope was trying to come out, and the left rear of Bodine and the right front of Cope came together for pretty significant sheet metal damage. Meanwhile, Alan Kowicki was almost the victim. Our leader now getting in the pits. He is getting all 4 tires changed. Getting all 4 tires changed, and now the NASCAR official standing in front of Kowicki's car is holding him here in the pit. Paul Andrews and Alan Kowicki are both concerned about the problem.
Well, Jerry, I think
being held.
Jerry, I think they've made up a lap on the field. I think the 7 car passed the pace car inadvertently has made up a lap, and the NASCAR officials are holding it.
Yeah, the 11 car and the 7 car and the pace car, which I understand allowed them to pass, and they went on around. They did make up a lap on the field, so they're just taking back what they had taken.
Yeah, this isn't really a penalty. It just puts them back on the same lap as everybody else and prevents them from being a lap down, or a lap ahead, I should say. But wait a minute, Kowicki.
Well, he's just hot. Yeah. That's steam. He has to let the steam out some way, Bob.
Now he pulls away. You can see the conversation going on in the pit area.
That's Paul Andrews, the crew chief on the car.
Yes, they did.
Trying to eavesdrop on the conversation.
Now, the big disadvantage for that situation, see, they would have been at the head of the pack and would have come down pit road first. They went around, came up to the tail end of the pack, and came in last, so now they're going to be back at the end of the pack. That's the big disadvantage that they have now.
A lot of track position. They'll be restarting from the tail end of the field with 61 laps on the scoreboard. The yellow is out because of a Pancho Carter and Jim Bounds spin up in turn number 4. Back in Atlanta after this. Here in Atlanta, Rusty currently is 5th in the point standings. No chance the championship. Only Earnhardt and Martin can take it away here this afternoon. Now, let's get an explanation of what's been going on during this caution. A little bit of a race procedure problem. Here's Jerry with an explanation.
Well, I'm with John Dotson, formerly with the Rusty Wallace team, who's helping change tires today for Alan Kowicki. Now, John, what happened up there with Kowicki? What did they say on the radio?
Well, when everybody made their regular stop, we hadn't made ours yet, so we were leading the race. They picked up the wrong car, which was the 26, and Elmo tried to wave the 26 on by, let him on by.
Elmo's the pace car driver.
Yeah, Elmo Langley, the pace car driver. But Alan thought he was waving him by, so did Junior Johnson, and now they've got us from first place. We're in the back of the pack. So they're trying to sort it out. Hopefully they'll see where they made their mistake, but we should be leading the race, you know, if we had had the best pit stop. So everybody made their stop, we came in, so maybe they can get it sorted out. We should be leading.
Well, obviously a lot of sorting out to do here, and they were holding him, as you guys projected up there, to try to get the lap back that they had been gotten on the field by waving him by the pace car. Also, I might mention Dale Earnhardt, second pit stop a minute ago. His right front tire was flat. He ran over some debris up in turns 3 and 4, so that pit stop certainly out of necessity.
Boy, that was a break for him then, that's for sure. So it's going to be a few laps probably before we get this race procedure problem worked out and everybody on the correct lap and everybody in the position that they should be in. We are 64 laps into the 328 lap Atlanta Journal 500. And it's a spin involving Pancho Carter and Jim Bound, but it has turned into a race procedure problem in which we're going to have to decide who is leading the race and who is on what lap. So while they are deciding this problem, we're going to take an opportunity to look back on the 1990 Winston Cup season, which began the new decade. Rusty Wallace came in as the defending champion and looked ahead. Advantage on Mark Martin because Earnhardt has led a lap here this afternoon. We're still trying to sort out the restart order. Now, again, this isn't something that we can refer to as a scoring problem. It really has nothing to do with scoring, but rather the car that was picked up by the pace car when the yellow flag came out, and they're trying to decide if any cars were given an advantage because of that. There is some concern that the 11 car of Jeff Bodine might be a lap ahead of the field, and they're going back and rechecking and to determine exactly who is on what lap and how they will restart this race, hopefully in just a few minutes. We are 70 laps into this event. Again, it's a 328-lap, 500-mile contest to decide the Winston Cup champion for 1990. He is stopped on the starting line here in Atlanta. Now, the reason he's being stopped is because he was a lap ahead of the field, and he's just kind of sitting there waiting for everybody else to catch up with him. Now, he was the leader of the race when the caution flag came out for that incident up in turn number 4. And Alan Kulwicki was running second, Elliott was third, Hut Strickland was fourth, and Dale Jarrett was fifth. That was the way they were running when we went caution. So here comes the field now. And we assume that Bodine is going to fall in just behind the pace car and perhaps reassume command of this race under caution.
Okay, it looks like that is what will happen. So, Steve, when they were holding Kulwicki down there a little while ago...
Wait a minute, 25 don't won't let him in.
Now, Kenny Schrader had made a green flag pit stop just before the caution came out, but he got back out in the lead lap and has not made a pit stop during this caution, so he would be the leader, accepting that Bodine would have been the leader, maybe it would have... I'm going to confuse myself because Schrader would not have made a pit stop, so he maybe should be the leader, but who knows who would have come out first if they all had pitted. So, well, now, I started to say there a moment ago, we saw them hold Alan Kulwicki. Now, Bodine and Kulwicki were both waved around the pace car, so they made up a lap. Right. They didn't hold Bodine, so that's why they're taking this lap away from him now.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get it sorted out. In the meantime, we want to entertain you. Now, the Hat of the Week for the past 2 seasons has been something that's been, I know, very entertaining for you fans, but it's also contributed a lot to some charitable organizations. That's why we do it, just to have some fun and to have some fun with Benny. Now, this week's Hat of the Week is a demonstration of how things haven't gone particularly well every time that Benny has done one of his Hats of the Week.
So go buy, have dinner, and bid lots of money on the hat. Oh, look out. Yeah. Boy, you'd love to get your arms around me, wouldn't you, girl, huh?
You ready? Yeah. Hope. Stand still. Debo, stand still. We'll try to get off now. Okay. I didn't get off, I fell off.
These folks are in line for a driver, a race.
Oh, my God, no. We're going to get a picture of this quick. Everybody laugh at me, okay. You ready? Yeah. What are you doing? Huh? Oh, thank you. These folks are in. Hey, how you doing? That's the Hat of the Week for sure, yeah. Hey!
Well, we put to rest Benny's Hat of the Week after the 1990 season, but he wore it well. Coming up in 1991, Buffet Benny. Now, what in the world is that going to be about?
Boy, now, I don't know, but it certainly will be interesting. That'll be enough just to want you to tune in to ESPN in 1991, regardless of how good racing we have.
You're not too good with animals, are you? That tiger and the horse were a little bit too much.
A little more than I could stand. That's a nickname that Ernie Irvin put on me, Buffet Benny.
Yeah?
Why?
He saw me at a few buffets, I guess.
Oh. Does that mean you're going to get more free meals next year than you've gotten this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, fellas, we're getting the signal for one more lap to go, so I guess they got it all figured out, and we're going to go racing again.
Well, it's been a long caution, but the restart order has apparently been determined to everyone's satisfaction, and so the green flag will come out next time around.
Now, apparently, we see Harry Gant pulling up there on the inside in the Skoal car number 33. He had made a green flag pit stop, and he was running better than a half a lap behind the leaders when he made that pit stop, so he is a lap down. He was the victim of the caution coming out just a lap or so after he came into the pits.
So there you can see that Mark Martin now is in 5th position and ahead of Dale Earnhardt. So the battle for the championship continues.
Of course, that was as a result of Earnhardt going back into the pits for that flat tire that Jerry Punch mentioned a little bit earlier. It'll be interesting to see him come up through the field now. He's back about middle ways.
Well, we've had a chance to get up and stretch our legs and take a breather here, and now we're set to go back to racing action.
The real loser in this whole thing is Alan Kulwicki. I mean, they put Jeff Bodine in the position that he should go in, but Alan Kulwicki, they held him a lap and made him go to the back of the field. So
there, of course, is Dale Earnhardt as he lines up in proper position for the green flag to come out once again.
I still believe Kenny Schrader ought to be the leader because he didn't come into the pits, I don't think. I didn't see him, and he had just made a pit stop the lap before the caution came out. But anyway, here we go.
Green flag is out again, and the race continues here in Atlanta. Inside Mark Martin's car as he moves through traffic on the high side of the racetrack. That's Michael Waltrip to his left and now just ahead of him.
So this is the first time he has been in some good traffic, but the first time he has been in real heavy traffic when he has to contend with those that are racing for position as well as cars that are left.
And there is Earnhardt, P2 in a lot of traffic. Eric Wilson and Bobby Hillin ahead.
also Rodney Combs in the 89 car on the bottom side of the racetrack. The Evinrude Pontiac.
Earnhardt was back in 17th when the green came out. The 25 and 9 race for second position. Ken Schrader at 25 and Bill Elliott at number 9. There you can see the lead that Jeff Bodine has built up over these two, and Elliott takes the 4 to the inside and passes Schrader's Chevy in turn 2, but Ken fights back on the outside in the Kodiak Chevrolet.
We haven't really seen the muscle of that Ford number 9 of Bill Elliott's today. Maybe we will start seeing it here before long.
Hut Strickland comes in and makes the 3-car battle.
This may be the finest Winston Cup race yet for Hut Strickland. Currently running 4th and closed in on these two top contenders, Bill Elliott and Ken Schrader.
They continue to run wheel to wheel and side by side. Schrader now has second position back for the moment. Elliott on the low side of the racetrack, and Hut Strickland is right behind him in that great Vestas Buick owned by Bobby Allison.
And here comes DW, Darrell Walker, going around Harry Gant back there. He'll be back in the picture here before long.
There he is on the high side of the track. That's Gant on the low side of the green and white car.
Pulled up beside of him pretty easily, but he just hasn't been able to move on around.
Schrader gets that momentum on the top side of the racetrack and blasts down the straightaway. Bill just can't get by.
They're holding Hut Strickland up, I believe. He's running a great race in the Ray Best of Good, but here comes Darrell Waltrip trying to take that position away. That's 4th that Waltrip is trying to take. So you're looking at 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th right there. You can almost throw a blanket over it. Jeff Bodine has run away from him while they battle side by side.
Walter making a move on the low side, alongside Hut Strickland.
Hut trying to get up there and help get in the draft there, maybe help Schrader a little bit down the straightaway.
Here's Davey Allison and Mark Martin. 2 Fords running together, and Davey Allison moving around Mark Martin. Ooh, tight battle here as Now Elliott goes ahead of Hut Strickland and Ken Schrader.
And here comes Darrell Walker trying to get by Schrader. Well, Schrader's going from second to fifth.
Dick Trickle is in the pits.
Be an unscheduled stop for him.
Bombardier Pontiac comes to a stop. The crew goes to work. Looks like they're going to be changing tires on the right side of the car while we watch the action on the racetrack, and Dale Earnhardt behind Ricky Rudd.
Wow, just turns and goes under here. The 6 car trying to get back by Davey Allison, as Allison is battling with Morgan Shepherd in the red-white 15. Which car do you think Robert Yates is pulling for, Ned?
I would say he's pulling for the 28 car, even though that 6 car came out of his shops.
Probably more than anything, though, as he explained on Speed Week, he'd like very much to contribute to Ford's Manufacturers Championship.
No question about it.
Here comes Ernie Irvin trying to take the spot away from Mark Martin. Pulls up right on the back bumper.
That's the yellow number 4 Kodak Films machine. And
we're seeing some cars run better now than they did before, and they had an opportunity to come in the pit and make some adjustments. As Richard Childers told Jerry Punch a little bit earlier, many of them started the race they had to, start the race on the tires they qualified on, and now they have those tires off. Here's Morgan Shepherd trying to make a move on Kenny Schrader.
Shepherd in number 15.
Ooh, both of them go way up the hill.
Michael Waltrip right there also in the number 30 Maxwell House car. At the moment, Mark Martin is 9th and Earnhardt is 15th. Mark Martin is looking at this battle, raging ahead of him.
And all he can do is say, boys, be careful. Please be real careful and drive nice.
Don't anybody spin or crash ahead of me.
Yeah, he's not worried about those behind him, as the car number 94, Sterling Martin, look at him go all the way by the 4 and the 6 car. Martin got a little high there. I think he had to back off the gas just momentarily, and that allowed both Marlin and the 4 car go by.
Here's Darrell Waltrip and Hut Strickland running side by side in the battle for 3rd position. Waltrip has it. Darrell Waltrip looking for his first victory of the 1990 season here in the last race, trying to keep alive that 15-year win streak. He sat out 5 races this year because of the broken leg suffered at Daytona. Now is running behind Bill Elliott, who is in 2nd position, and there you can see the interval between Dale and Bill, and the leader, Jeff Bodine. And there is Mark Martin, and we understand that smoke has been seen from the rear end of the Mark Martin car.
Oh, no. He has lost a couple of spots.
Earnhardt is coming up on him.
There we see Rusty Wallace and Brett Bodine, who was just passing the last couple of laps. John Kernan is with Steve Mills.
Steve, we see some smoke from the car. Do you have any idea what it might be?
We think it might have burned up a gear. We're really not sure. We're going to run a little bit. Probably eventually NASCAR will make a pit. We'll look at it. We're hoping for a caution.
Jack Roush now trying to get Steve Mills' attention. They've got to talk. Looks like it could be bad for the Folgers crew.
What he said was they might have burned up a gear. The rear end may be leaking some fluid, and that means that the fluid is coming out, and it's going to burn completely up in just a matter of a little bit, if that is the case.
So Brett Bodine now just ahead of Mark Martin, but behind Mark Martin is Dale Earnhardt, while the lead of the Atlanta Journal 500 is held by Jeff Bodine. Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where the Atlanta Journal 500 is 91 laps old. The leader of the race is Jeff Bodine. Mark Martin may have a problem in the number 6 car. He is currently 13th. And Earnhardt is 12th. Meanwhile, it is a side-by-side duel for position between Sterling Marlin in 94, and now the number 4 car, Bernie Earnhardt, is falling in behind Sterling. That is 7th and 8th spot. There you can see Mark Martin bringing up the end of this string of cars. Earnhardt just ahead of Martin now on the racetrack, and of course has an 11-point advantage in the point standings because Dale has already led a lap here.
goes high up in 3 and 4.
Mark Martin taking a look, trying to find either the low or the high groove.
A lot of glare on the windshield as they came off that turn.
But that glare will only get worse as the sun sets to the west. Later on, the last 100 miles, these drivers will be driving down in turn 3, looking into the sun like Phoenix just a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be very, very hard to see. Now, Brett Bodine on the inside. Mark Martin goes by.
Now, Brett Bodine is a lap down. He had made a green flag pit stop just before the caution came out, so he is a lap down, and then was involved in that pit road incident with Derek Coates.
A look at Earnhardt up on the top side of the racetrack, passing cars. He passed Rusty Wallace and now comes up on Greg Sachs, the number 18 car, and disposes him. You can see that smoke coming from the 6 car. It's pretty evident now.
Yes, it is. Wallace not running quite as good as he ran earlier.
Mark Martin's car is just not handling it at all either. Coming off the corners and back in, very, very slippery. Trying to spin out.
If the race were to end right now, this is the way things would shake out in terms of the Winston Cup Championship. Earnhardt would take it by 13 points. There's Jack Roush, the owner of Mark Martin's car. And there is Mark Martin on the racetrack, trying his best to wrench the championship away from Earnhardt. Let's go to John Kernan with an update on this situation. John?
Well, Steve Meal radioed to Mark and said, Mark, can you smell anything? Remember, he said he thought they might have burned up the rear end. He could have probably smelled it. Mark said, no, I don't smell it. So now they're thinking that it might just be tire smoke. At least that's what they've got their fingers crossed. That's what they're hoping. So they're going to hang on till the next pit stop, take a little wedge out, and tighten the stagger, and hope that that fixes the problem.
I don't know, guys. What do you think? Does it look like tire smoke to you?
That one shot we saw there a moment ago didn't look like tire smoke, Bob, but I don't know. He made a good pass on Rusty Wallace there. No problem doing that.
The 17 car of Darrell Waltrip has moved into second position, passing Bill Elliott. The leader continues to be Jeff Bodine. Also, Hut Strickland shown in the top 5. And the number 15 car of Morgan Shepherd.
And you can see that Darrell Waltrip and Bill Elliott has almost caught Jeff Bodine in the Budweiser Ford.
Yeah, he had moved out almost a straightaway ahead of them while they were back there battling with Schrader a while back. Now they have run him down.
Average speed of the race, 116.970 because of a lengthy caution period we had due to a race procedural problem. We had to determine who was on the lead lap and in what order they would restart. Here's Ernie Irvin moving underneath the 25 car of Schrader.
Ken Schrader, as Ned pointed out, only stopped on the green, only changed 2 tires. Then when the caution flag dropped, did not go back in the pits. And I think, Ned, he's now suffering because of not getting those other 2 tires.
Well, I'll tell you, as much as you're in the turns here in Atlanta, those 4 fresh tires mean a great deal. And, yeah, I think it's beginning to tell now, that Chevrolet.
25 cars are on the lead lap. Jeff Bodine, Darrell Waltrip, Bill Elliott, Hut Strickland, Morgan Shepherd, Davey Allison, also Sterling Marlin, Ernie Irvin, Earnhardt, and Waltrip now has caught Jeff Bodine, closes in, maybe taking the opportunity here to go into the lead. Car slides high on the racetrack.
But look at him get a run off of that turn as he goes down the backstretch.
Old DW getting a little racy here this afternoon.
Very racy. Been a while since we've seen him up there really charging and going for the lead, but that Chevrolet, the Tide Chevrolet, is working well for him, and he's driving it super.
And he was among the fastest in that final practice period yesterday afternoon.
He indeed was. In fact, on my unofficial stopwatch, I had him as being perhaps the fastest.
This is the last race that Darrell Waltrip will have for Rick Hendrick. Darrell will have his own team next year. It will not be the Tide Chevrolet. It will be sponsored by Western Auto. Jeff Bodine, meanwhile, in 1988, a win. In 1989, a win. And in 1993, wins. How about Darrell? 2 wins in 88. Look at that, 6 in 1989. But he has has been shut out for the 1990 season so far.
Maybe that's why he's getting a little racy. He don't want to see that goose egg up there.
Man, he would love to have a win to keep that string intact.
You know, Bob, he is battling to get back in the top 20 in the point standings. If he takes the lead and gets 5 bonus points for that, that'll move him that much closer. Dave Marcus was in the 20th position coming into this race, and Waltrip, as a result of missing 5 races, had dropped out of the top 20, now trying to get back.
And so the question we put to Darrell Waltrip earlier in the weekend, are you thinking about winning the race instead of your position in the point standings?
That is exactly what I'm thinking about. I need to win here. I've won a race every year for a long time, and I hate for it to come down to the last one, but a little drama to go along with the drama that we already have certainly wouldn't bother me a bit.
And he has the lead at the moment. Darrell Waltrip, 3 wins here at Atlanta, trying to make it number 4, and here he comes, and he'll pick up 5 bonus points. Here's Jerry Punch.
Well, no surprise at all, Bob, to see Waltrip run up front. Remember the last driver other than Earnhardt to win here in Atlanta? Well, this is the number 17 car, Darrell Waltrip, back in the spring of 1989. So certainly, before Earnhardt's domination took control, Waltrip was awfully tough here, and he's again tough today.
Dave Marcus comes into the race in 20th position in the points, and Dave Marcus is currently running 22nd in the race. Now, the guy that finishes in 20th position will take home $22,000 in bonus money at the awards banquet coming up in New York City. And the guy that finishes 21st will get nothing. Again, a great battle for the lead between Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Bodine, and Darrell gets it again. There's Bill Elliott there in 3rd position. Chevrolet leading with 2 Fords trailing here in the Atlanta Journal 500, the conclusion of the 1990 Winston Cup season. Chevrolet has the lead of this race right now, with Jeff Bodine 2nd and Bill Elliott rather in 3rd position. Harry Gant has problems. Here he comes down pit road in an unscheduled stop.
Yeah, this is an unscheduled stop. He was a lap down as a result of making a green flag pit stop before the last caution. It looked like he was coasting as he came in. Maybe he was out of gas. I don't know. But he shouldn't have been out of gas, I don't think. But
looky here, Ned.
Yeah.
Looky here. Mark Martin is closed up on the back bumper off Dale Earnhardt.
So the championship contenders are running together on the racetrack. Earnhardt a position ahead of Mark. That's 10th and 11th.
Dale Earnhardt led the race. It looked like he had things well in hand, but right now he looks like he's struggling just a little bit.
And we don't see, or at least it isn't quite as evident right now, that smoke that was coming from Martin's car. 15-point separation between the two if the race would end right now.
Fellowson mentioned that Harry Gant might run out of gas, and I think he did.
Maybe.
We're going to have others coming up here pit stops before too long.
And that's strange because Harry Gant usually gets more gas mileage, better gas mileage, than most cars in the field.
But he was the first car to come in and pit under the green flag. He only ran about 50-some-odd laps before he came in the first time, and so he went about 60 laps on this tank of fuel.
Jerry Punch is in the Dale Earnhardt pits.
Well, as you watch Dale Earnhardt go very, very high, coming in a turn 2, apparently he has put the guys to work here in the pits, Kurt and Shelburne, and watching, and they're side by side now. Mark moves by on the bottom of the racetrack. Earnhardt's car up very, very high. Apparently the problem is Earnhardt's car is very loose. Mark Martin is going by Dale Earnhardt. They will begin to try to work on their next pit stop strategy to try to change the stack a little bit and tighten the car up. But right now Earnhardt has to buy his side and try to keep the car up high on the racetrack where it is still a loose handling machine.
Now remember, Mark has to finish a couple of positions ahead of Earnhardt if he has any chance of winning the Winston Cup. And he has positioned himself 1 ahead of Dale now.
Yeah, but since Earnhardt has led a lap, he has finished 3 positions.
That's right.
On his down.
That's right.
Unless Mark, of course, leads the lap sometime later on. A lot of ifs in there.
This is definitely the picture that Mark Martin wants to see. The 3 car in the rearview mirror. Now what he would like to see is look in the rearview mirror and not see the 3 car. He might want to keep going back. There's a leader, Darrell Waltrip.
That's the view that he wants to have two with nobody in front of him, at least in terms of position, because he is the leader of this race. And as a matter of fact, he's pulled out to a pretty good advantage here on Bodine and Elliott.
Fellas, you remember we're talking about Ken Schrader at the restart of this race. NASCAR is now saying that he is a lap down, so it didn't matter whether he started in front of Jeff Bodine or not. He should have started beside of him, I guess, but he had made that green flag pit stop and did lose a lap.
Number 30, Michael Waltrip, also being scored a lap down by NASCAR. They say they'll give it back to him when we have our next caution. Back with more at the Atlanta Journal 500. Parsons, Ned Jarrett, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch back in Atlanta, where Darrell Waltrip leads the Atlanta Journal 500. Watch for your favorite driver. We'll lock down our camera here, and as they come through the frame, you can find out where your favorite is running in position with the leader.
Davey Allison coming across the line.
Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, Greg Sachs,
Brett Bodine, Dale Jarrett, Ken Schrader, Michael Waltrip, Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, our pole sitter, Rick Wilson,
Barry Gant, Bill. Who's the red car? That was Gary Cope in the Pure Leader Chevrolet.
I'm getting ready to get my calculator going here, Benny, to tell you how fast this lap is. It's 33 seconds, and that's the speed of 166.030.
Qualified a little over 175 miles per hour, so the car under racing conditions slow down about 9 miles per hour.
Look at Morgan Shepherd, fellas. He is coming on. He is running in fourth place. He has caught Bill Elliott, who is third, and they move into some traffic. But Shepherd's car really working well, the Motorcraft Ford. He ran strong here in the spring, finished second to Dale Earnhardt, and almost won the race.
Matter of fact, Morgan was so strong in the early part of the season, going several races, finishing in the top 10. And now Morgan is in fourth spot. He's there in the number 15. That's Bill Elliott. Third place, number 9, just ahead.
Michael Waltrip coming down pit road. Maybe a scheduled stop for the...
Yeah, I think it's about time for scheduled pit stops. As a matter of fact, about 2 laps ago, we heard that Mark Martin would be making a pit stop with about 5 more, so we could be seeing that occur very, very shortly here. Watching the battle for third between Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9. By the way, next year, Bill will be driving a car sponsored by Coors Light, and you'll have to notice him in blue and white next year. No more red and white for Bill Elliott. The number 15 car, meanwhile, by Morgan Shepherd, will be solid red, still maintaining the number 15 and the Motorcraft sponsorship. Okay, we're setting up for pit stops now.
I see Mark Martin's crew on the pit road with the board up, so he's going to be coming in pretty soon.
Earnhardt coming in now.
20 car driven by Steve Grissom this weekend. Here comes Dale Earnhardt down pit road. Let's go to Jerry Punch with the call to stop.
A scheduled pit stop for Dale Earnhardt. Remember, they ran a little bit longer because of all those caution laps, but here's Earnhardt in the pit. What they plan on doing is changing right side tires and putting steel in the car. Richard Childers at the back of the car with a hammer beating the spoiler up, trying to get more downforce on the rear of the car. Earnhardt's car was so loose a little bit ago. Now he's down and away. 11.4 seconds, he is down and away.
Good stop for Dale Earnhardt, 11.4 seconds. Let's see what Mark Martin can do as he comes in, and John Kernan is there.
Crew awaiting Martin. They will, too, go for 2 tires on the right side. They were going to take a round of wedge out, but just 1 lap ago, Mark radioed in and said, no, the car's not too tight. I like it the way it is. So they're just changing these 2 tires. They will also tighten up, make sure the lug nuts are tight. Or no, actually, what I'm seeing is on that left rear, they got a bar up. Fender out. 12.5 seconds. He also gets on the air hose, has to pause for a second. First, I thought they were making sure the lug was tight. Rusty Wallace comes in. But they were pulling away the left foot finger away from the tire. They thought that might be the problem that caused the smoke that we saw earlier on.
Rusty Wallace pit stop from our crew cam, so about a second difference between those pit stops. Dale pitting at 11.4 and Mark in 12.5. The lead continues to be held by Darrell Waltrip. He'll need a pit stop soon.
And Davey Allison going out of the pits after getting right side tire. So it's Hut Strickland going out of the pits. There's Davey, we see him. Morgan Shepherd coming into the pits. Dale Jarrett just going out, and the Sid go forward as well.
Morgan Shepherd hits the mark, slides to a stop. The crew working on the right side tires as the clock ticks away on the Bud Moore crew as they go to work on the motorcraft board. 2-tire change, making sure they get the car full of fuel. It's a 12.6-second stop for Morgan, and he's away. It was close there when Mark started to exit the pits. Watch Robin Pemberton. Nearly ran over the air hose, but he saved it.
Well, I tell you, he has a lot of athletic ability. In fact, to work on a pit crew and do the job they do as quickly as they do it, they got to be athletes as well as they
really, those tires are very heavy, because I remember we did a tire stop 4 or 5 years ago here at Atlanta, and man, I'm telling you, those tires are heavy. You have to be very athletic.
And hot, too.
Yes. Darrell Waltrip is the leader of the Atlanta Journal 500. We welcome you to our final Winston Cup race of the year. The Atlanta Journal 500 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Darrell Waltrip in car number 17. The Tide Chevrolet is the leader of the race. He will need a pit stop very soon. We have had many already make their second scheduled pit stop of the race. Now, Dale Earnhardt, in his most recent pit stop, our Big A pit stop performance shows that it took the driver 14.9 to come in and out of the pits, and the crew 14.1 to change the tires and fuel the car for a total of 29. Compare that to Mark Martin. Look at this, 19.7 for the driver and 13.2 for the crew, 32.9. So Mark with the decided disadvantage there in that pit stop.
One reason was the air hose, because Mark Martin had to back off the gas and let Robin Pemberton get back in front of him, because NASCAR would have pulled him back in for running over the air hose if he'd continued on.
It would have been a penalty, but he avoided that situation. Bill Elliott looks like he's headed down pit road, and the number 11 car of Jeff Bodine, second and third in the race, are both making pit stops.
Well, they made some pretty long runs there before they came into the pits. Of course, Darrell Waltrip is still out there, so he's making an even longer run.
We see the Tide crewman with the pit board between those two cars, ready for Darrell to come down pit road, watching the crew go to work on the 9 car, and there's the 11. Must have some kind of problem, because the jack is just now going up on Jeff Bodine's car.
Yeah, that was much too late, baby. I don't know what happened to him, but here goes Elliott's going to beat him out.
He's out of gas. He was out of fuel. Jeff Bodine was out. They had to push him off.
Let's go to Jerry Punch to call the pit stop by Darrell Waltrip.
Finally, the Tide Chevrolet will come down pit road. We would expect him to change only 2 right side tires. They bring him to a halt. Jeff Hammond, Danny Jones and the crew now cleaning the windshield. Waltrip, Tide Chevrolet, single pit stop. They check the left side tires. You hear Waltrip revving the motor in the background. 1 can of fuel in, a second can of fuel going in. Hammond now waiting on the fuel. Finally, it's in. He's down the way. 14.9 seconds.
Derek Cope shown as the leader of the race at the moment. He has not made the pit stop. So Derek Cope, the winner at Daytona and at Dover, has the lead at this race momentarily.
But he certainly will have to be coming in before too long.
A lot of people have apparently been asking by way of telephone, what happens if Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin finish even in the points? At the end of this race, the drop of the checkered flag, if they are tied in points, then you go to the rule book and you look at the next step, and that is it goes to the driver who has won the most races, and that, of course, would be Dale Earnhardt.
And not only for the win in the Winston Cup Point Championship, but all the way through for second, third, fourth. And if they're tied for victories, it goes to second place finishes. If that's tied, he goes to third place finishes. And he continues on until they get a winner. There is no ties. There are no ties.
Here comes Derek Cope into the pits, and John Kernan will tell us how this stop goes by Spanaway, Washington's Derek Cope.
Well, the scoring problem we had earlier aided Derek Cope. You remember he spun on pit road, the damage on the right front. They were able to get the car taped back together without losing a lap, and therefore Derek is in an unlikely position with a car that puts his feet up and sits. They will go to work on the right side. They check the left side gas, right side gas in, and Cope is away.
Derek Cope begins to build up momentum, pulling back out on the racetrack. A car that has come into the pits and not come out, Sterling Marlin. They've got engine problems or something that is attracting their attention in the engine compartment of the 94 Sunoco Oldsmobile, and Sterling Marlin is still on pit road. The lead now goes to Bill Elliott. 136 laps are completed. This has been a very accident-free race so far. Very good one. Bill Elliott leading at the moment. Back after these messages. Stay with us. Atlanta Motor Speedway in the Atlanta Journal 500 being led by Bill Elliott. Tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, catch up on what happened this afternoon in the National Football League on NFL Primetime here on ESPN. And then get set for some football at 8 o'clock tonight. Hey, good contest. Both these teams 5-4. The Steelers and the Bengals. We'll see Buddy against Boomer tonight, quarterback-wise, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, live tonight. Here on ESPN, the Steelers against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Bill Elliott, we see Alan Kowicki there in front of him as he goes around the Winn-Dixie car of Rick Mass. Kowicki is not too far up in front of him. Kowicki currently running in the 16th position, and he would be the last car on the lead lap. Right now there's 16 cars on the lead lap, and the only trying to take is 15 as he moves up behind Kowicki.
Our championship contenders are 5th and 8th at the moment. The 28 car of Davey Allison and the 4 car of Ernie Irvin are in a battle for 6th position. Davey has had a pretty good race. Remember, he made that pit stop earlier in the event and had to go way back to the end of the line to begin the restart. He has found his way back up to 6th position, but Ernie Irvin has been in the top 10 just about all race long, and right behind those guys, Mark Martin.
Irvin gets the measure of him as they come off of turn 2. So this is correct. Chevrolet from the Texaco Ford. And there is Mark Martin, not too far behind those two drivers. And that smoke that we saw earlier, fellas, I haven't seen much signs of it lately.
I haven't either. A lot of people have been calling and asking how races are scored. If you finish 1st through 6th, there is a separation of 5 points between positions. In other words, the winner gets 175 points, 2nd place 170, 3rd 165, and so on down through position 6. 7th through 11th, there's a separation of 4 points each, and 12th through the remainder of the field separated by 3 points. Of course, there are bonus points handed out for leading 1 lap and for leading the most laps. So that's how a Winston Cup race is scored.
And that's 5 points for each of those bonus points. 5 bonus points for leading the lap, 5 more bonus points if you lead the most laps.
Well, John Kernan can tell us what is going on with the Mark Martin car. Is that smoke gone, John?
With Steve Neal, the team manager. Steve, you were worried about burning up the rear end, and then you thought it might be tire smoke. Did you get the problem fixed on that last pit stop?
Yeah, right now we're worried about everything, you know, with the position we're in. But what happened was when he run the car down in 1 here, there's a little V in the pavement. If he got the left rear on the bottom side, it traveled the suspension so much, the left rear tire hit the quarter panel and smoke. You know, we just were thinking the worst. Fortunately for us, it's just a little tire rub, and Bobby Leslie fixed that on the last pit stop. We should be in good shape.
Have you said anything about the car? We've had a lot of drivers talk about being too loose here this afternoon.
We were real loose when the race started. We tightened him up, and he seems real good now. We just can't get a caution to get our track position back. We're in reasonably good shape, but we're a little bit on the loose side.
Reasonably good. Well, they just passed Davey Allison out there on the track, so I say the car is running fairly well right now.
Yeah, indeed it is, and he's moving to the inside now of Ernie Irvin and trying to pick up 6th position. Remember, Dale Earnhardt is running in 5th. And so now Davey Allison makes the pass on Ernie Irvin. Earnhardt is 5th. And Mark Martin.
Bob in that 6 car. Mark.
Earnhardt is 5th. Mark Martin is 6th. Boy, it's nice to be back with you guys.
Bob, how's your back, by the way? You were out at Phoenix. You didn't come to the race. You said your back was hurting.
It's interesting you ask. You know, I usually come to a race and get a backache or a pain someplace else in my body when I see you, Benny, but I had one at home this time. And
thank you very much.
And there is Bill Elliott trying to put a lap on the 7 car of Alan Kowicki. Alan is 16th. Seriously, folks, Benny and I have been swapping these comments all year, and I'm ahead, but not by much.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Not by much.
It's been fun.
Yes, it has.
Now look, Morgan Shepherd has caught Bill Elliott. Shepherd running in 2nd place in the Motorcraft Ford, and Elliott went up and tried to pass Morgan Shepherd and couldn't do it. Tried to pass Alan Kowicki and couldn't do it, and Shepherd moving right up.
And Dale Earnhardt is in 5th spot. Watching him from Dick Trickle's in-car camera. Earnhardt cruising along in fifth with an 11-point advantage on Mark Martin, because Dale has led a lap here this afternoon. Here's Morgan Shepherd trying to take the lead from Bill Elliott.
Ooh, we saw Morgan had a handful of steering wheel coming off the second corner. Almost got it out of shape.
But look at him drive deep into the turns. That Ford is working down on the inside as he puts the nose under there once again. Kowicki still staying in the lead lap. He certainly would like to see a caution about now. He's a 16th place car right now.
Looking back on this battle for the lead from Allen's bumper cam. Right now, Elliott holding off the Morgan Shepherd charge. But look how Morgan has moved to the front. He's come from 22nd to 9th at the end of 75 laps to 4th at the end of 115. And now, with 149 laps in the book, he is second and only a few car lengths behind the leader. Comes Dale Earnhardt. Remember, he is in 5th spot.
And Mark Martin is in 6th.
And that's how far they're separated.
That's Martin out between 1 and 2. Earnhardt's coming off the second corner.
But Mark is going to have to find positions and find points here this afternoon if he's going to be the Winston Cup champion for 1990. The number 94 car of Marlin, remember, was in the pits, I told you, for several laps. It is back out there on the racetrack, but we do see smoke continuing to come from the Sunoco Oldsmobile. 151 laps completed. We're glad you could join us on this Sunday afternoon for the conclusion of the Winston Cup season here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. In Atlanta, and if the race were to end now, Dale Earnhardt would be the Winston Cup champion for 1990 by 16 points over Mark Martin. They are separated by 1 position on the track, 5th and 6th. That is added to the 11-point advantage that Earnhardt has right now. Sterling Marlin has pulled the Sunoco Oldsmobile behind the wall, and it looks like it could be all over for Sterling.
He's got some type of leak. He's got an oil leak they're trying to repair. They thought they had it fixed. We went back on the racetrack and it started leaking oil again.
And he is one of several drivers who is in his last ride with the team that he's with. Of course, Sterling Marlin will be with Junior Johnson next year, so he might have driven his last lap in the Sunoco Oldsmobile.
Bill Elliott wants to stay in front of Morgan Shepherd because in about 9 laps, we're going to have the halfway $10,000 award.
And on the racetrack, a battle continues between Ernie Irvan and Davey Allison. Cars 4 and 28. Irvan is 7th and Davey Allison is 8th at the moment. Now the halfway challenge will pay $10,000 to the leader at that point, and someone will win a new Pontiac. Those out of the race, Kyle Petty, Bobby Hamilton, and Jim Bound. And Sterling Marlin has gone behind the wall, but isn't necessarily completely out of the race at this point. He's going to try to get that Sunoco Oldsmobile back in the race.
Well, I mentioned there are 16 cars in the lead lap. Of course, the leader is Bill Elliott. Morgan Shepherd is 2nd. Darrell Walter 3rd. Jeff Ledine 4th. Dale Earnhardt 5th. Mark Martin 6th. Ernie Irvan 7th. Davey Allison 8th. Hutch Strickland is 9th. Greg Sachs 10th. Dale Jarrett 11th. Rusty Wallace 12th. Ricky Rudd 13th. Rick Wilson is 14th. Derek Cope is 15th. And Alan Kowicki, the 16th place car. Richard Petty, the King, riding in 17th, 1 lap down.
And continuing on, it's Terry Labonte in 18th. The 97 car of Chuck Bound is shown in 19th position. Ken Schrader is 20th. Michael Walker 21st. Bobby Hiller 22nd. Brent Bodine is 23rd. 24th is Dave Marcus, and 2 laps down in 25th position is the number 47 car of Jack Pennington. And Kowicki now going a lap down to Bill Elliott.
Well,
or is he?
Yeah, Elliott's trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
So there'll be 15 cars in the lead lap, and I believe he has him this time.
Yes, he does.
Kowicki sure did not want to give that position away.
There's Darrell Waltrip, and he's running 3rd, not too far behind Elliott and Shepherd. Snapshot, so get ready to watch for your favorite. The leader comes around and crosses the line, we'll start the clock and time this lap and give you an opportunity to watch for the driver that you've been following all year in the Winston Cup campaign. There's Jeff Bodine. There's the King.
Right behind him, Terry Labonte. Jimmy Means and Alfred Seltzer car.
Mark Martin going by. Dick Trickle pulling to the inside as Ernie Irvin passes by.
There's Greg Saxon, the yellow car.
Dale Jarrett.
That was Steve Grissom in the Crown Oldsmobile that went by. His first Winston Cup drive ever.
32.9 for the time on the lap. 166.0 last time we clocked him, and this time is 166.5 mile-an-hour lap for Bill Elliott, who's the leader of the Atlanta Journal 500 finale of the Winston Cup season for 1990. Has just picked up $10,000 in the Right Guard Halfway Challenge. We have reached the halfway point. We are on lap 165. And so Bill Elliott is the leader at the halfway point of this event.
Morgan Shepherd was just a few car lengths behind him when we went to break. Morgan got caught in some traffic, and now Bill has about a 15 car length advantage.
I understand Bill Elliott's mother, Mildred, was back in the hospital recently. Certainly want to wish her the best. It was a year ago that she had an aneurysm, and they were all very concerned about her. She came back and improved, but had another problem recently.
Mark Martin is still standing on the gas and reading the sign that faces him on the dashboard. Think.
He said, I think I'm in trouble. If I can't catch that 3 car.
Yeah, he is in trouble in terms of winning the championship right now. He's got some work to do, but remember, this is the second half of the race to go, and anything can happen. Heck, anything can happen on the last couple of laps. I mean, Dale Earnhardt could drop out, and Mark could win the championship in just the last few laps of the race.
Yeah, it ain't over till it's over, that's for sure.
We will be seeing more regularly scheduled pit stops here in about 4 more laps, we understand, as Mark Martin is communicating with Steve Neal and Jack Roush and other members of that fine, fine crew who you have to take your hat off to. If they don't come up as champions, you've got to take your hat off to this Jack Roush crew for just having a wonderful year, and Mark Martin also.
You know, now they changed the right side to the last stop. Will some of the crews just change left sides, or will they change all 4 tires? What do you suppose the strategy's going to be down there now?
Well, it'll be interesting. You had mentioned, here's the race for second place as Darrell Waltrip has caught Morgan Shepherd. You had mentioned that Kenny Schrader had only taken on right side tires. When he makes his green flag pit stop, then he took on left side tires, so maybe the others will this time.
Darrell Waltrip closing in on Morgan Shepherd. That's Chad Little at car number 19, who is not on the lead lap. In fact, is several laps behind, but Darrell Waltrip finds himself now in 3rd spot, just a few car lengths behind second place Morgan Shepherd in number 15. That's Chuck Brown there in number 97, that Kellogg's Cornflake sponsored car. Bill Elliott lapping the 14th, the 15th, and the 14th place. Derek Cope is already a lap down in 15th, and now he's about to...
No, Derek has passed Rick Wilson, and now Rick Wilson is running 15th.
Well, a lot of pit strategy coming up here. What's it going to be for Earnhardt, Jerry?
We would expect to see Earnhardt to pit in the next probably handful of laps, so I'd say 6 or 8 laps. The reason he has not been able to close in on Jeff Bodine, as you saw earlier, his car has been very, very loose, and the children bumped the rear spoiler up a little bit. Mark Martin, meanwhile, downshifting, headed down pit road for his pit stop, but they plan to put around a wedge, and Earnhardt's car's not hot enough a little bit. Let's check into Mark Martin's pit stop with John Kernan.
As we've seen under green, we anticipate 2 tire change here. The crew will go to work on the left side. They did right sides last time. They will also take around a wedge out. Car just a little bit too tight. They want to tighten it up just a little bit, and they are closing the stagger. Like that saw, and Robin Pemberton getting it on. 12.8 seconds. Robin a little bit slow in getting the left front lugs tightened, but Mark is away.
Well, second stop for Mark Martin as he goes back out onto the racetrack, staying below that white line on the apron. be watching for other pit stops to be made here at the 171 lap mark. There's the leader, Bill Elliott. He still hasn't put a lap on Rick Wilson in 75.
But he's still trying.
He's still trying. Dale Earnhardt cruising along in 5th position as the Childress crew gets set. Kirk Shelmerdine and the others getting ready for Dale Earnhardt when he is ready to bring that Goodwrench Chevrolet in for a stop.
Mark Martin does not want to see a caution flag now. He is a lap down after that green flag pit stop. He knows that others will have to come in before too long, and certainly doesn't want a caution to come in and let them have the luck. Here comes Earnhardt.
Earnhardt drops off the 24 degrees of banking. He is headed your way, Dr. Jerry Punch.
We would expect to see him change 2 left side tires, and more importantly, jack some weight in the car, some wedge. We'll watch Mr. Childress, the car owner, with the wrench as he goes over the wall, and the crew will go as we predicted to the left side of the car. It will change only the left side tires, and Childress now jacking 2, 3, well, actually about 2.5 rounds of wedge in the left rear of the car to try to tighten the car up a little bit. Earnhardt revving the motor, 12.8 seconds, down and away.
Just a little bit slower than Mark Martin's stop, not by much. It was pretty even.
Meanwhile, Bill Elliott just went by and put Dale Earnhardt a lap down. And then talked about if the caution flag was to come out, Mark Martin would be lap. Now, so would Dale Earnhardt.
Bill Elliott has put a lap on Rick Wilson, now moving up on Derek Cope in the car number 10 to put a lap on him. There's Bobby Hillen in the Snickers Buick running his last race for the Stavola brothers. Rick Wilson will get in that car in 1991.
And just in case we have viewers today that don't normally join us because this is a special race, the championship decided, when they take a round of wedge out, what does that do, and what does it do when they put a wedge in, a round of wedge in?
We see the cars coming off the corner, the back end goes out. We call that loose when the back end of the car is trying to spin out. When they put bite in the car, wedge in the car, that helps that problem. It makes the car come off the corner straighter. There we see Dick Trickle being pushed back to the garage area. The car is out for the day. When they take wedge out of the car, that makes that problem worse, makes the car slip worse coming off the corner.
And saw Greg Sachs a little sideways in the pits. Here's Davey Allison getting left side tires on the Texaco car. And the person, he must have killed it or even maybe it's out of gas.
All this under green. Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine now running together on the racetrack.
But Earnhardt is a lap behind Jeff Bodine. Bodine running in the 4th position. He still has not made a pit stop.
I tell you, this race should go green flag the rest of the way. Bill Elliott and Darrell Walsh would have a tremendous advantage because of the fuel mileage.
And so Earnhardt with a full tank of fuel after his pit stop. We're at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Atlanta Journal 500. The Atlanta Journal 500 Winston Cup race, the final event of 1990, where the championship is on the line between Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. At the moment, Bill Elliott is the leader of the race. He'll be coming in for a pit stop soon. The 15 car Morgan Shepherd is second, and Darrell Waltrip is in 3rd place. 27 car Rusty Wallace, running 12th at the moment, is due for a pit stop. The average speed of the event right now is 134.748 miles an hour, and we're watching for Rusty to come in.
Rusty has moved up a few positions because some of those, Bob, have already made pit stops in front of him, including Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. So he is in the top 10 at the moment.
Didn't come in for the stop that time, but Morgan Shepherd, 2nd place car, is in for a stop.
Right behind him is Harry Gant.
Oh, he overshoots a little bit.
Well, they're changing right side tires on the Motorcraft Ford. They looked at the left side tires. Apparently feel they're okay. They'll fill her up with gasoline. Second unit California.
Morgan Shepherd is off and away again. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who will call this stop by Rusty Wallace.
Elliott standing on pit road with the pit board will bring his driver in the last ride for Rusty Wallace in the Blue Max Pontiac. The crew will change left side tires. Bill Wilbur and the crew now going to work, cleaning the windshield adding fuel to the car, routine pit stop. One can of fuel going in, second can going in. Lug nuts are on. He checks the right side tires. Distance stands up. Now the jack city in the way. Pretty good pit stop here for the Miller crew.
Boy, a year ago, Rusty Wallace was... And here comes Dale Jarrett in for a pit stop. Rusty Wallace was about to win $1 million in the Winston Cup, but things haven't gone his way this year. Dale Jarrett, 5th place car, in for a stop. That's Jack Pennington pitting behind Dale in the Citgo Ford.
A little bit of a chassis adjustment. Bob Johnson making there on the Citgo Ford. 13.8, according to our unofficial stopwatch here. Not a bad pit stop for the Wood brothers.
You know, Ned, I think that the Bill Elliott and Darrell Waltrip cars, they have 6-minute advantage on fuel. They may decide to change 4 tires instead of 2.
They might do it, and that certainly would give them another big advantage. Ernie Irvin, let's see. They pull to the right side on the Kodak film Chevrolet.
Ernie Irvin is 10th in the point standings. We'll see how this stop goes, and Ernie Irvin pulls away. Now our Western Auto Race recap. Bill Elliott leading 50 of the 185 points. 2 cautions, nothing for anything serious. 8 cars are on the lead lap at an average speed of 136.9 miles an hour. The lap leaders have been Rusty Wallace, each of these picking up 5 bonus points. Davey Allison, Dale Earnhardt, Alex Lewicki, and Jeff Bodine. Also Darrell Waltrip, Derek Cope, and the current leader Bill Elliott. Those that have dropped out of competition, Kyle Petty was first to go, followed by Bobby Hamilton, Jim Bound, Sterling Marlin, Dick Trickle. Now the Western Auto Mechanic of the Year that will be handed out at the NASCAR Awards Banquet in New York City that will be televised live on ESPN. Robin Pemberton at the top of the standings on the number 6 Mark Martin car with 665 points. He has pretty much things in hand. Mike Beam is second, followed by Andy Petrie, Tim Brewer, and Danny Glad.
Elliott still has not been able to put a lap on Derek Cope, but they both have pit stops coming up before too long, surely.
Ricky Rudd on pit road through completing the work on that car.
As these drives away, the Terry Labonte Skoal Oldsmobile ran out of fuel, and he coasted in, and they're changing 4 tires on that car.
All right, we still are watching for some cars to come in, Jerry. What's the situation?
Well, they are all smiles down here in the Jeff Bodine pit area. Likewise, in the Darrell Waltrip pit. The reason being is, you remember, both those cars went 70 to 71 laps last time on their fuel miles. Remember, Earnhardt running about 55 to 58 laps. So is Mark Martin. So if you figure it, Bob, get out your calculator now. I'm going to give you some numbers. You figure it now that possibly Bodine and Waltrip pit around lap 200. That means they can make it the rest of the way on 1 stop.
Wow. Okay, so maybe a decided advantage because of fuel mileage here for some of the teams.
Or either, as Benny pointed out, they would have the luxury of putting on 4 tires and still stay either in the lead or certainly in the lead lap.
There is Mark Martin, and right behind him is Jeff Bodine in number 11.
And they almost had a crash the last lap. They went off that second corner. Mark Martin got in the side of the 11 car, and he was sideways all the way down the back straightaway, but Jeff able to control the car.
Jeff Bodine in 3rd position in the Budweiser Ford. We'll be back with more live coverage of the Atlanta Journal 500 from Atlanta Motor Speedway in just a moment. Benny Parsons, Ben Jarrett, John Kernan, and Dr. Jerry Punch were covering live the final Winston Cup race of 1990, the Atlanta Journal 500. That will decide the championship between Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. At the moment, Bill Elliott leads the race. Mark Martin is separated by about 1 position from Earnhardt, behind Dale, and if the race were to end right now, Earnhardt would be the champion. We're waiting on Elliott to make a pit stop. The 11 car of Jeff Bodine here. He's coming in for a pit stop and headed toward pit road, where Jerry Punch will tell us what goes on.
That means they will have run some 66 laps at their last fuel stop, so they can still probably make it the rest of the way on 1 stop. But here comes the big Bud Ford Thunderbird for Jeff Bodine. Mike Hill and the crew are going to work. Tim Brewer, Pete Rice, changing left side tires, just like Earnhardt has done, and some of the other people come in and change only left side. 1 can of fuel going in, Henry Benfield, and that's the legendary Junior Johnson spinning the windshield. 11.8 seconds, he is away.
Jerry, that was an awfully good pit stop. They let it go as soon as he got the tire changed. I wonder if they would have been able to get a full tank of fuel in that period of time. You might check on that.
We'll check on it, Dan, but apparently they're picking the cans up now, and they're not too concerned about fuel. They're getting such great gas mileage here. They feel like they got a luxury of maybe wasting a little bit, maybe.
Well, they are getting good gas mileage. There's no question about that.
Well, what about Bill Elliott and Darrell Walker? They're still on the racetrack. Mark Martin pitted on lap 170, Earnhardt on 173, and these cars at 197 are still on the racetrack.
Amazing, and showing no sign of making a stop as Bill Elliott is on the upside of the 80 car driven by Jimmy Horton. Could he be slowing down for a pit stop? I believe that is the situation. The Coors Belling team is ready for the pit stop of Bill Elliott. Here's John.
The Elliott crew awaiting Bill's arrival. We're anticipating a 4-tire change. Now, my calculation is correct. Bill will have run 66 laps. That means he could just squeeze in the entire race with only one more stop for fuel. As I said, a 4-tire change in progress. The car actually died. Bill gets it re-fired, and now they are going to work on the right side. Lug nuts are tight. Bill's wanting to leave, but now they stop him as the left side lugs are off. They will take off the left side and put 4 tires on. The fuel going in. Dan Elliott quickly tightening the lugs on the left side, and now Bill is along 25 seconds even. And one note, the car, I'm told, is shut off because it was out of gas, is what he thought. So they were just pushing it to the limit. That means, as I said, my calculation down here, he should be able to go with just barely with one more stop.
All right, and we're awaiting now Darrell Waltrip, who should be coming in very soon. In fact, maybe now, yep.
Dale Earnhardt moves around, gets back in the lead lap as Waltrip slows down to come into the pits. And Jerry Punch is going to be down there to cover the Tide Chevrolet pit stop. Jerry is coming at you.
And Ned Waltrip's crew watching very closely what the Bill Elliott crew did a minute ago, changing all 4 tires. We'll see if that's changed their strategy at all. They had planned, I think, originally to change only 2. Here comes the Tide Chevrolet. Waltrip brings it to a halt. Now we're going to work now only on the left side. They will still just change 2 tires, left side only, add fuel to the car, clean the windshield, and hope to get him back out and get a chance maybe to get a caution flag to get in and get fresh right side tires. Waltrip throws a can of water, that's the water out the right side window. Jeff Hammond pulls the jet. He's away, 15.5 seconds.
Well, fellas, I think when this all checks out, that Morgan Shepherd is going to be the leader. He stopped a while back, made an awfully good pit stop. He was not far behind the leaders, and he has been running much faster than they've been running with the new tires on. And, of course, Elliott taking the extra time to put on the 4 tires.
Shepherd will be your leader, and there is Mark Martin. He is 15th. From the bumper cam on Alan Kulwicki's car, looking back at Mark Martin.
And look, as we look out the front of Mark Martin's car, we can see the black tree up in front of Alan Kulwicki. Well, that would be any car director, but that's the tree just now going in turn 3. So Mark Martin can still see him up there. He knows he's in trouble. And look at the visibility net already getting bad.
Yeah, it's getting tough, and as you said earlier, it'll only get worse as time goes by.
There you see the separation on the racetrack between Earnhardt and Mark Martin. And we'll correct everything we said now. Earnhardt is printing in 2nd position, and Mark Martin is in 3rd. The 15th car of Morgan Shepherd is the leader. Sometimes our hand signals up here between people are good, and sometimes they're bad.
With those 4 new tires, though, look at Bill Elliott coming up on Mark Martin as Alan Kulwicki goes high. 3 Fords. Elliott had a notion to go 3 abreast, but he said that won't be smart. I have 4 tires. I'll be able to get them here in just a moment. Let Mark Martin pass Alan Kulwicki, and then I'll go down on the inside. Good move by Bill Elliott.
So the battle we're watching here is for 3rd position. Mark Martin in number 6 and Bill Elliott in number 9.
Elliott should be able to run maybe as much as a half a second a lap faster than the others with the 4 new tires that he has on that Ford.
Good call, Benny, saying that the interval that they had built up would allow them to do so.
Well, Darrell still only changed 2 tires. Bill did choose to take on 4 tires, and I think in the long run that will prove to be an asset to Bill Elliott. Right now he's a long ways behind, but in the long run I think he will be an asset.
Finally just blew away Mark Martin, moving into third spot. You do good work once in a while, Benny. Oh, thank you. Morgan Shepherd from Conover, North Carolina in the Motorcraft Ford leads now the Atlanta Journal 500 with 205 of 328 laps completed. 207 of 328 complete here in Atlanta. It's Morgan Shepherd leading the Atlanta Journal 500, followed by Dale Earnhardt, Phil Elliott, Mark Martin, and Darrell Waltrip. Morgan Shepherd leading the race, and he's about to lap Ricky Rudd 10th.
So if he does indeed move around Ricky Rudd, there would only be 9 cars on the lead lap. Darrell Waltrip running in the 5th position after his pit stop in the Tide Chevrolet.
But the question is, might there be a problem with this car? Let's go to the pit area for the answer to that. Jerry Punch.
We're not sure how much of a problem it might be, but as Darrell was leaving the pits a minute ago, one of the exhaust pipes came out from underneath the car. Jeff, you lost an exhaust pipe minutes ago. Will that affect the car at all?
Well, we hope not, Jerry. Motor-wise, I think it's going to be okay. But believe it or not, sometimes those tailpipes play a pretty important part as far as the aerodynamics on the car when it kind of turns through the corners. And that's what's really concerning more than anything else right now is whether or not, you know, if we get the 4 good tires in the car, how it's going to run, you know, later on in the race.
And we'll keep an eye on Darrell Waltrip. Lengthy pit stop, 15.5 seconds. He's running okay now, but we'll watch him late in the race.
Only 22 starts for Darrell this year. We mentioned that he's missed 5 and has 4 top 5 finishes and 11 top 10 finishes, but no wins in the 90 season.
He must have missed 6 if he's only started 22. This is the 29th race. And,
I guess
man, you know how Bob's arithmetic is.
Maybe the graphic was wrong.
All right, Ernie Irvin back in the field with the 27 car of Rusty Wallace.
Now, Rusty just went around Ernie Irvin and taken over the 7th position. Irvin moved back to 8th. Here comes Dale Jarrett in the Citgo Ford. He is running in the 9th position. So there is the 7th, 8th, and 9th positions running together. Davey Allison has gone a lap down. Here's Jarrett going under the car number 4 of Ernie Irvin.
He did miss 6 races. Wrong again.
Son of a gun.
Jarrett's had a fine day.
He really has run good. He came from 21st up to 5th before the first caution, and then had to come back in the pits and went back to about 20-some position, and now has gotten back in the top 10, moved into 8th position.
Ford may be coming in for another pit stop in about 5 laps.
Being shown in 4th place.
We pitted on lap 170. It's now 2:14, 2:13. So, you know, that's 43 laps. That's going to be awfully early for a pit stop. But they probably feel like they need to get 4 new tires on there.
Yep. Well, again, Benny, they made an awfully good pit stop. Did they get a full tank of fuel in the tank?
Good point, Ned.
Let's go to John Kernan on pit road.
I just talked to Robin Pemberton, the crew chief. I asked him if they were going to take on 4 tires. He says no, they will not take on 4 tires, but they will have to pit coming up in about 3 or 4 laps or so. You recall they did pit earlier than just about everyone else. So it's coming right up on their window, I guess, although it might be a few laps early.
Well, the crew gets ready as Mark Martin stays out there on the track. Coming down the front straightaway here. We watch from the Folgers Channel Lock race cam.
Coming up on the Chad Little car, the Bullseye Barbecue Sauce car. They announced here yesterday that they would return with Chad for a limited schedule in 1991, along with Tyson Foods.
Jim Sauter in the 0 car. The car's owned by Delma Coward out of Savannah, Georgia.
Sauter from Necedah, Wisconsin. Masters in Ford. There's the Folgers crew waiting for Mark to come in. Boy, they moved out out on the pit road. I thought maybe it was going to be this time around. It's a pretty impressive mark for Mark. 22 of 28 races that he has finished on the lead lap this year.
It's very surprising that Mark is going to pit this early. Evidently, they want to do something to the car, Ned.
I expect they'll make a chassis adjustment on it, but I still believe, Benny, that they might not have got the full tank of fuel in it when they only changed 2 tires and did that in about 12 seconds. Now the board is out, so Mark Martin apparently will be coming in here very shortly. He's going into turn 3 right now. Let's see if he slows down. See him turning that steering wheel, going in and through that turn, and yes, here he comes.
He's slowing it down and dropping off the banking, down, shifting. Mark Martin headed for pit road. John Kernan is right there.
Mark Martin will make his way on the pit road. They will take on right side tires only. They took on lefts last time. Now, they were talking about taking only 1 round of wedge off. Right, for them to take out 2 or 3 rounds. They'll have to watch. And now they took out only 1 round of wedge. And the car sounded like it might have sputtered for a second. And now they're making sure they get down to side. 15.5 seconds. He was slow just a little bit and he killed it again.
And that cost him some extra time, but they stayed in there to get the fuel in at that time. I'm sure, Benny, they did not get that car full of gas the last time. I don't think Jeff Bodine got a full tank of gas either when he made 11.6 a second pit stop. And there might be others who only took on 2 tires. We know Bill Elliott got his full because he took on 4 tires.
Right.
And Darrell Walton had a fairly long pit stop for a 2-tire change. And I'm sure a part of that reason was to take on extra fuel. They can change 2 tires quicker than they can put in a full tank of fuel. So right there's the leader, Morgan Shepherd.
And Morgan is looking for his first win of 1990. He has finished second on 2 different occasions. Here at Atlanta, he was runner-up, and then at the second race at Charlotte.
Morgan Shepherd, when we look in front of him, we're going to see the 5-car, Ricky Rudd. Remember about, 5 or 6 laps ago? He was trying to pass Ricky Rudd. He still hasn't been able to do it. As a matter of fact, Rudd is moving away, so Morgan Shepherd's car is not as fast as he probably would like for it to be.
It's tough when he catches those cars that are running as good as Rudd, and there's Ernie Irvin now about to go a lap down. Irvin has dropped back to 10th position in the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. Shepherd might be able to move on around him. But when your tires get hot and they move up to pass them on the inside, most of the cars that he's lapping now is running up in the second groove, and track's a little bit slick down there. His tires are hot, and it makes it tough to pass those cars.
All right, so Morgan Shepherd continues to lead this Atlanta Journal 500, but our main goal here this afternoon is to decide the championship. Will it be Mark Martin in car number 6, the Folgers Ford, or will it be Dale Earnhardt, who is currently the points leader in Winston Cup competition? If the race were to end right now, Earnhardt would be the champion for this year. Well, we've still got a lot of race to go, so don't go away. We'll be back with more of our live coverage from Atlanta Motor Speedway. One season opens at Daytona. This is the car that Morgan Shepherd will be driving. That's the new paint scheme for 1991 on the Motorcraft Ford. Now, this is the way the car looks currently. It is the leader of the race here at Atlanta. Morgan Shepherd from Conover, North Carolina, taking the white out of the car for next year.
Well, that car is very loose, Bob. He's been trying to lap the Ernie Irvin car. Here's Davey Allison coming into the pits. Davey had gone a lap down, now coming in for right side tires.
They're going to be changing 4 tires on that automobile. Jackman goes around. Left side goes up.
Clock ticking away, reaches 20 seconds, and at 20.8, the car begins rolling. And so Davey Allison moves away now. Let's go to Dale Earnhardt's pit and Jerry Punch.
They wonder how we can figure when they're going to pit and how they know when to pit. Well, let me show you here. Ted Harrison sitting on the wall with this lap chart here. These numbers here correspond to laps 225, 226, 227. The written numbers are laps that he last pitted. Lap 53, 54. This time by it'll be 55 laps that he last pitted. We'll try to go pit somewhere here in this area, or possibly even around here. Now he is talking every single lap. He writes in that last lap by Earnhardt, 32 seconds even. If you look at this tape here, way down here on lap 269. That tells you how far you have to go. We have only one pit stop left, so we're watching Earnhardt's crew here. They calculate lap by lap. Their next pit stop, probably the next 5 or 6 laps.
And look how close Earnhardt has moved in on Morgan Shepherd. Shepherd has a handful with that race car with 100 laps to go.
Yeah, the car has just gone away in the last 15 or so laps. We saw him not too long ago trying to lap Ricky Rudd. Ricky Rudd has driven him away from him. He came up on Ernie Irvin, tried to put a lap on him, hasn't been able to do so, and Earnhardt now moving up on him, trying to take the lead. Not too far behind them is Bill Elliott, who is coming.
Ernie Irvin makes a little bit of a slip coming off the second corner, and let's watch Earnhardt. He pulls alongside Morgan Shepherd. They go wheel to wheel into the third turn. Morgan lets Dale take the lead.
And Dale just simply drives by Ernie Irvin and goes away.
You know, from the top. Morgan's car just has gone away.
Dale Earnhardt reassumes the lead of the Atlanta Journal 500.
And we saw Davey Allison a little bit ago pit and change 4 tires. You wonder why he would do it? Because he had problems very similar to what Morgan Shepherd had. His car had just gone away. He needed to get new tires on it so he could at least drive around the racetrack.
Look at this. Dale Earnhardt has led more laps than any driver this season, 28%.
And he's led 28% of all the laps this year. Is that what you're telling me?
All the laps. Wow.
That's domination, isn't it?
It sure is, more than a fourth. He has been something this year, no doubt about it. 9 wins, leading the points and leading this race.
Remember, Mark Martin has not led a lap so far today, so Dale has an 11-point advantage now on Martin, actually more than that when you consider where they're running on the racetrack.
We understand that Mark Martin's crew has not been able to get a full tank of gas in his Ford since lap 58.
Wow. In other words, there's some type of problem that the car is just not taking fuel the way it should, I guess is what they're telling us.
Well, either they've been just changing 2 tires and going when they get the tires changed and hoping there'll be a caution before they run out of 15 gallons or whatever it is they get in.
That's it. Just making quick stops so fast that they don't get a full load. They do, however, think that they got a full load in this last time. And here comes Dale Earnhardt, and Jerry Punch is standing by. Here he comes, Jerry.
Well, Bob, they should get right side tires only for the Goodrich crew. We'll watch and see if they change their strategy at all. And David Smith and now Kurt Shelburne and the crew are going to work. Clean the windshield. 1 can of fuel going in. Right side tires. We'll look at the left side tires. It'll only be a 2-tire change. Right front rolls away. Right rear rolls away. They look down at the left side tires. Clean the windshield. Get ready to pull the jack weight on the gas. And the car down the way. 13.3 seconds.
Jerry, I think he's going to be able to stay in the lead lap. As he goes out, stays below that white line, we'll see Morgan Shepherd come into the picture maybe in a little bit. And let's see if he can. Here comes Shepherd going into turn 1. And Earnhardt now getting his speed up on turn 2. Yeah, he's going to be able to stay in the lead lap.
He sure is. Earnhardt is essentially up to speed as he enters turn number 3. And Morgan Shepherd just midway down the backstretch now begins to go into turn 3. So Dale Earnhardt makes the pit stop and stays on the lead lap. We'll show you the interval between the two. There it is.
He jumped out and he passed Shepherd and jumped out about 3 seconds ahead of him before he made that pit stop. So that just gave him that much of an advantage and allowed him to stay in the lead lap. Now with those new tires, he's going to be able to run faster than Shepherd.
Dale Earnhardt has things going his way here this afternoon. Is he en route to his 4th Winston Cup championship? We'll know later this afternoon. Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where Morgan Shepherd in car number 15 leads this race with Bill Elliott in 2nd spot, Darrell Waltrip in 3rd, Jeff Bodine in 4th, and Rusty Wallace in 5th with an average speed of 141.465 miles an hour. 6th position is Dale Jarrett. 7th is Earnhardt. He made the pit stop without losing a lap. 8th position is the number 5 car of Ricky Rudd. Those cars on the lead lap.
Mark Martin is 10th, 1 lap down.
Our Big A Auto Parts pit stop performance on Mark Martin, 19.6 for the driver to reduce his speed and gain it, and 16.3 for the crew. That's 35.9 seconds total for Mark. Now compare that to Dale Earnhardt, 15.8 and 14.1, 29.9.
You know, what we're talking about by driver time, we're talking about where the inner pit road and lead pit road. There's a white line entering pit road, one leading. We timed that. That's where we come up with a driver reaction.
Dale Jarrett is in, and so is the leader, Morgan Shepherd, John Kernan.
Morgan Shepherd comes in kind of hot. He overshoots his pit by just a few feet. They will go to work on the left side. They will take on 2 tires only, getting that second can of gasoline and making sure the windshield is clean. The left front lugs already tight. The right lug is waiting for all the gas to get in. 15.2 seconds. He had to pause to wait to make sure they got the tank full.
The lead
goes to Bill Elliott.
Now goes to Bill Elliott, and there he goes into turn number 1.
And Morgan Shepherd may be left. We'll have to watch as Bill Elliott comes off the second corner with a full head of steam. Morgan's getting up to speed. I think he's going to be able to stay in the lead lap.
Yeah, it's pretty close, but I think Morgan is going to be able to stay in front of Elliott. Pulling out of the pits there. You can see him on the right side of your screen. As there is Morgan Shepherd, and boy, he just made it out just ahead of Bill Elliott. Now, John Kernan can update us on the Mark Martin situation. John?
Well, last pit stop, they took a round to wedge out of the car because it was too tight. Well, right now, Mark is radioed in and says, hey, the car is too loose, so they're going to have to ride it out to the next pit stop and try and tighten it back up again.
And not only that, but that glare that Ned and Vinny have been speaking about all afternoon is really getting to a critical point now with just a little less than 100 laps to go.
Yeah, look how good the visibility is going down in turn 1.
No problem.
This is the in-car camera, no problem. Now he turns coming off the second corner and starts down the back straightaway. Now the sun starts being a problem. And every foot he goes, it becomes more of a problem. As he turns into going turn 3, the sun's going to hit the windshield, and boom, the racetrack goes away.
Boy, it does. It just completely blinds you as Rusty Wallace makes a pit stop. Here's Jerry.
Routine pit stop for Rusty Wallace, and they will change right side tires. Todd Parrott at the crew can continue carrying the right rear tire out of the car. He will get the tire there, and then he switch the crew the right rear tire on. You're watching the crew camera. Todd Parrott positions himself to the rear of the car. He's ready to help push the car down. They're waiting for gas, waiting. Now the car does not fire and stall. The car is still stalled. They're almost in the crew, putting the hood pin in, and now they're down and away.
So Rusty Wallace also with a momentary bobble as he pulls back out on the pit area, from the pit area.
Out of gas, don't you guess, Ned?
I think so, probably, and that cost him some extra time, too.
Because it does. Here comes Bill Elliott off the second corner. Rusty building up speed once again. Going to be close whether or not he goes a lap down.
No, he'd go 2 laps down if Elliott catches him. He is already 1 lap down. When he came into the pits, he was about 4 or 5 seconds from being lapped by Bill Elliott, and when he came into the pits, Elliott went by and did put him 1 lap down. Here's Derek Cope in for the pit stop for left side tires on the Purelator Chevrolet.
A little bit of damage there in the front end, but nevertheless, the Purelator Chevrolet continuing to run. And he moves back up to speed. Here comes Ernie Irvin in the Kodak Film Chevrolet in for a pit stop. He hits his mark perfectly, and the crew goes to work on the left side of that car.
I think he's one driver. They had changed the right side tires twice, and now they're putting in the left side tires. And apparently he was out of fuel. It looks like they're adding fuel to a little tube that they have that runs to the carburetor.
Yep. He is out of fuel. That's ether or starting fluid. They're squirting towards the carburetor, hoping he'll pick some up. He finally gets the car fired.
Ernie had gone a lap down. Here's Ricky Rudd in the pits. Irvin had gone a lap down to the leader before he came into the pits.
Rudd another one of those on the lead lap, at least before coming in for the pit stop. Now he moves away.
And Bill Elliott has got a while to go yet before he'll have to make another pit stop, so he's going to keep a bunch of cars a lap down that have been running in the lead lap all day.
Mark Martin is running with a couple of cars. The 30 machine of Michael Walter was just ahead of him.
And Hut Strickland is right behind the Rebecca Buick, still running good. Mark tries to get by Michael Walter. There's Hut, the red 12. Ooh, Mark gets it a little bit out of shape, but saves it.
The 11 car of Jeff Bodine comes in. Jerry Punch is right there.
Actually, they're pitting about 12 laps earlier than they were expected to pit it based on fuel mileage, but we are told they're concerned about the right side tires. The car is slowing up, skipping and slipping and sliding over the racetrack, so they will change only right side tires, clean the windshield, add fuel to the car, and he will have to probably make at least one more stop to make it rest away. He is down and headed back to turn 1.
13.4 for Jeff Bodine.
And Mark Martin is off the gas, coming off the second corner and going slow down the back stretch.
Very slow down the back stretch. Mark Martin, the title contender.
Fellas, is this the championship going away? Any chance at it?
Well, he's back up to speed and won't be not up to full speed, but at least gets the car going a little bit better.
Maybe he just got the car out of shape over there. I guess he just got loose over the corner. Sorry, Bob.
Well, he was definitely going slow at the point I glanced up. Let's take a look at it.
Coming off the second corner on the inside of Michael Walter, and for some reason the car just slowed, and the 12 car almost ran in the back of it. Watch this.
Wow. Oh, boy. Mark had to turn left there and get out of his way. Let's go to John, who's with Steve Meal. He can tell us maybe what happened.
Steve, what happened to Mark out there?
He got up under Michael and the motor cut off, so he just reached up and got it refired on the other ignition system. He said he's okay.
So he just had to change ignition system. Should be okay for him?
Yeah, he's got a switch right there. He said, well, no big deal. I said, you get loose? He said, no, motor cut off. I'm all right. Oh, how about that?
You know, Jerry Punch talked about the wiring on these cars before and how they're not accustomed to them.
Well, anyway, Mark Martin is back up to speed, and it really didn't hurt him very much, but it caused him a scare, I'm sure. So Mark Martin continues to battle for the Winston Cup Championship here this afternoon, but if the race were to end right now, the champion would be Dale Earnhardt. Look how the driver's compartment in the seat wraps around Mark Martin as we see him from our in-car camera.
That's the seat we're seeing up against his ribs, and he has one on the left side exactly the same way.
And look at the head protection there for Alan Kowicki. That's not the place that I would like to spend a Sunday afternoon, to be very honest with you.
No, that's a lot of fun. Hey, he just holding on the wheel with his... He had almost just leisurely laying the right hand on the steering wheel down the straightaway.
Yeah. Out for a Sunday drive. Martin is working very hard to capture this championship. He's not giving up yet, but it doesn't look good for him at this moment. There would be a 21-point difference between the two. If the checkered flag were to drop right now, Earnhardt would be the 1990 Winston Cup champion.
And there we see Dale Earnhardt, the black number 3. Building up to about 185, 90 miles per hour.
You know, we talked about the fact that Chevrolet can win another manufacturer's championship this year. You know, the first time that a NASCAR championship was won by a Chevrolet was in 1957. Who was the driver, guys?
That's me there. Buck Baker.
Very good. Hey, and he did that without cheating, Benny, like you always do.
I always look.
Buck Baker, back in 1957, brought Chevrolet their first championship.
Well, give Benny the benefit of the doubt. See, I was around back then, and Benny wasn't.
That's okay. Yeah.
There we see Bill Elliott. Remember, he won the right guard halfway challenge, $10,000. A fellow from Detroit.
Oh, good.
From Detroit, where I spent 10 years. Howard Hanks won him a Pontiac.
Good deal.
So, Howard, congratulations.
Elliott's still sitting behind the car number 15 of Morgan Shepherd. Shepherd is showing in 4th place, so there are only 4 cars on the lead lap. But we understand Elliott has a pit stop coming up in about 3 more laps. So, and it'll be close for he might be able to go the rest of the way. I think he will be able to go the rest of the way. If he does stop, and Darrell Waltrip, I think definitely will be able to go the rest of the way. He'll probably run longer than Elliott will. So.
And Waltrip is in 2nd spot. Earnhardt is 3rd. Morgan Shepherd 4th. And Mark Martin is 5th, but he is a lap down. And so is Jeff Bodine in 6th. Cale Jarrett in 7th. Ricky Rudd in 8th. The 18 car of Greg Sachs is in 9th. And Rusty Wallace is in 10th.
Here comes Elliott down pit road for his pit stop, and John Kernan will be there waiting for him. John, what is he going to do? Will it be 2 cars this time or 4?
it will be 2 tires then, and also they got to make sure they get every drop of gasoline in, because if they do, they can make it the rest of the way without stopping, but they'll only have about a lap to a lap and a half to spare. They go to work on the right side, first can of gasoline in. Mike Thomas is the catch can man. It will be very important for him to watch this to make sure that it is full. Elliott finally gets away in 14.9 seconds.
They stayed in there. You saw they got the tires changed down. Darrell Waltrip was taking the lead. Now, got to change tires changed in less than 11 seconds. But they stayed in to get the fuel. But, Benny, one thing that surprised me was that they kept the car jacked up on the right side. Of course, I know normally that's the signal for the driver to go when the thing hits the ground. But it looks like maybe they'd have changed that because they'd been able to get a little more fuel in it if the car had been on level ground.
Exactly right. But they couldn't take the chance that Bill Elliott would drive away because, I mean, he's been doing this since 1976, and his signal to go is when the car drops. Yeah. They couldn't take a chance.
Yeah. Darrell Waltrip is the leader in car number 17, the Tide Chevrolet. After that Bill Elliott pit stop, looks like he's got some streamers coming off the back end of that car.
A little bit of tape, I guess.
Sometimes that denotes a rookie, but I don't think that's the case in this particular instance. There are some people that we would like to thank in our final broadcast of the 1990 season as far as Winston Cup competition is concerned. Of course, all of the officials at each racetrack that we visit. The NASCAR officials that we work with, all members of the France family, Chip Williams, Morris and Jeannie Metcalf, David Hoots, Les Richter and Dick Beatty. Thanks to Bob Kelly from R.J. Reynolds. There are a list of other people that we would like to thank also, but we'd like to especially say hello and best of luck to all of our troops stationed in the Middle East, and hope things conclude in that section of the world peacefully. Very nice tribute. Ooh, Davey Allison is smoking badly.
Yes. Looks like the day might be over for Davey. He has made at least one extra pit stop and was being shown a couple of laps down.
And he was being shown in 13th
lap
position.
down, yeah.
He slows going in turn 3 and 4. He's coming in the pits, heading for pit road.
Davey Allison from Hueytown, Alabama. This year in Winston Cup, he was the winner at Bristol and at Charlotte. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who has a story on the Darrell Waltrip situation. Jerry?
They are getting ready to pick the Tide Chevrolet, but we mentioned some people that have meant so much to us all year long. One person missing today from this operation, Jimmy Johnson, who worked for Hendrick Motorsports. He is back in Charlotte, has been in fairly poor health, and the entire team here, the Tide team and all the Hendrick Motorsports cars, would like to win here in Atlanta for Jimmy. Jimmy, they know you're watching. They know you've been a part of this team for a long, long time. And they'd like for you to get well and get back to the racetrack very soon. We all miss you. You've been so much to the media, the television, and radio people. So we'd like for you to get well. We know it's been a tough winter for you. And Darrell Waltrip gets ready to bring the Tide Chevrolet down for what should be his final pit stop. Maybe he can indeed win it for you and all the folks at home. Right side tires only for Darrell Waltrip. Crew now going to the right side of the car. They will clean the windshield. Add both cans of Unical gasoline. Right rear tire off, one can of fuel in, second can of fuel going in. They got the car bringing off the jack, make sure they're trying to get the car completely full. They got the jack, 15.7 seconds, keep it down and away.
So Darrell Waltrip has made his final pit stop of the afternoon on lap 268.
And Dale Earnhardt has taken the lead, Bob.
He reassumes the lead. Bill Elliott pitted a few laps ago. Now Darrell Waltrip has pitted, and that gives the lead back to Dale Earnhardt, trying to make it 3 wins in a row here in Atlanta, and trying to go out in a blaze of glory and win not only the race, but of course that will also win for him the Winston Cup Championship. Average speed of the race is 141.465 miles an hour. Dale Earnhardt has the lead, and we will be back with more of our live coverage as we conclude the 1990 season in Winston Cup competition. Mark Martin comes in for another pit stop. He was running very low on fuel. John, he's right there for you.
Motor's still running. He is revving it up. I'm sure you can hear it. He thought that the car ran out of gas. It kind of bubbled or gurgled just a little bit. Now it does shut off. They get the left side tires. They will spray ether down into the carburetor area, waiting to get every drop of gas, it is killed, so they're pushing the car to try and re-fire it. Finally comes back to life. 15.2 seconds for Mark.
And fellas, he needed to get that thing full of gas. If this thing goes green the rest of the way, the gas mileage he's been getting here this afternoon, he still has 54 laps to go, and that's about all he's been going.
I don't think he can make it. I really don't think he can make it the rest of the way. So, yeah, you're right, Ned. They need to get every drop of gasoline in it, and still might not be enough.
That drops him back to 11th position. John, let's go back down to you.
Bob, they can run 58 laps on a full tank of fuel, but they did not get it quite full right then. They might have been about half gallon to a gallon off, so it could be close.
You know, the fact that the thing stalled helped them to get more gas in it.
Yeah, you're right.
They were one to go as soon as he got those tires changed, but when it stalled, that allowed him to get more gas in. It could have been a blessing in disguise. Who knows?
I don't know whether you saw it or not, but I did. That smoke is back coming out of the back end of Martin's car. I saw it there in 1 and 2. It could be tire smoke, but I think I saw something. Now, the number 71 car of Dave Marcus has just gone to the garage area, and that's very significant for this car, number 17, Darrell Walter. Remember that bonus money is paid for the top 20 positions, and Darrell Waltrip and Dave Marcus were in a battle for that 20th and final point-paying position going into this race. Could very well be, and it looks very favorable right now, that Darrell Waltrip will pass Dave Marcus in the points and collect the $22,000 at the banquet.
Dave Marcus told me yesterday that he really needed to win that $22,000. He needed another engine for his program for next year, and he said that would be the thing that would get that engine for me to start in 1991. Walker currently running in 6th place, 1 lap down. He's not far behind Earnhardt right now.
The leader of the event. Here he is, Dale Earnhardt. Now, out of the race, Kyle Petty, Bobby Hamilton, and Jim Bound. Sterling Marlin has gone behind the wall, so has Dick Trickle and rookie candidate Jack Pennington. Jimmy Horton and Dave Marcus are the most recent to drop out of competition.
There are 5 cars in the lead lap now. Earnhardt leading, Bill Elliott second, Morgan Shepherd third, Jeff Bodine fourth, and Dale Jarrett running in 5th. In 6th place is Darrell Waltrip, who is 1 lap behind. You might see him come into the picture. Yeah, there comes Waltrip as we get a field snapshot here. Earnhardt comes across the line, and we'll clock him as he goes around and see where your favorite driver is running on the racetrack.
Rusty, Morgan, Rudd, Harry Gant, Bobby Hillen, Jimmy Means, the King, Greg Sachs. There's Mark Martin and Bud Strickland running right together on the racetrack.
As they have been all day.
Yep. Chuck Bound. There's Terry Labonte. Rodney Combs is still out there. And the time, 32.9, and the average speed is 166.5, just about what it was last time we checked.
Mark Martin moving around the Hut Strickland car, number 12.
He's trying to, Ned, but he's struggling with it.
Has a little fresher tires than Hut has.
Good run for Hut, though, this afternoon.
Yeah, he has had a good run.
As long as Mark Martin keeps on running, anything can happen. And we preached that all afternoon. But in the last 2-3 laps, something can happen to either Earnhardt or Martin that would completely change the championship. So far today, Dale Earnhardt has been able to lengthen his points advantage on Mark Martin, but that can all go down the drain in the last few laps of the race, and that's what makes racing so exciting.
Well, if something was to happen to Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin would be the champion.
Yep, at any time from this point. Dale Earnhardt is going to be making a pit stop, we understand, in about 6 laps. Right now, 281 are complete here in Atlanta. Dale is leading. ESPN Speed World at the Atlanta Journal 500, the final Winston Cup race of 1990 at Atlanta Motor Speedway near Hampton, Georgia, about 30 miles south of Atlanta. The leader is Dale Earnhardt. He's due for a pit stop before too long. Now there is Darrell Waltrip and Bill Elliott battling. However, this isn't a battle for position.
No, it isn't. In fact, Elliott is putting a lap on Darrell Waltrip, which might be very significant when Earnhardt goes in the pits. See, that would have put Waltrip back in the lead lap. But now, since Elliott is back, and Elliott's going to take the lead when Earnhardt pits, so Waltrip's still going to be a lap down.
Darrell can't go the rest of the way on the fuel that he has in that car.
And Bill Elliott, as we said, it's going to be close. We think he can make it, but it's going to be awfully close for that number 9 Coors Ford. And we know that Earnhardt can't make it. We know he's going to pit in just a few laps.
Yeah, that shouldn't be too. And the sign that it's going to happen soon is Chocolate Myers has got the helmet on.
Are we sure that's chocolate under there now?
He is ready.
He's bigger than most of his crew members. He was going to raise that up and show us, and our camera went off over there, but that was indeed chocolate.
One of the hard-working members of the Richard Childress crew that has helped Dale so much accomplish what he has accomplished, not only this year, but the last few years that this combination has been into effect.
And that's one thing that Richard Childress and Dale Earnhardt has going for them, is the crew has been together for several years. Chocolate, David Smith, Kurt Shelmerdine, Will Lynn, all those guys have been there for a long, long time. They seem to anticipate what the other guy is going to do.
Here's another impressive statistic regarding Earnhardt's performance here in Atlanta. He's finished every race here since 1983, and he's finished on the lead lap since 1987.
So Mark Martin knew coming into this race, it was an uphill struggle, and that's why last Thursday he chose to go with an unknown, a Davey Allison car, a car he was not familiar with, because he felt like he was going to need something to beat this man.
But that something has not worked for Mark this afternoon, and Dale Earnhardt is close to a pit stop. Let's go to Jerry.
While we're waiting for Earnhardt's pit stop, I might mention he has 2 sets of plans come Monday. If he doesn't win the Winston Cup Championship, he's going to fly out of here as soon as the race is over and go deer hunting with a couple of friends. If he does win the championship, then he will probably at the stage for his commitments, obviously, to the press and media, lead to crown the 1990 Winston Cup champion. I'm sure there are plenty of deer sitting somewhere in the woods watching television right now, waiting for somebody else but Earnhardt to win it.
But I'll guarantee you something else. As soon as he's finished with those obligations to the media and other people, then he goes deer hunting.
Yeah, he has already been deer hunting. In fact, last week, he's coming into the pits right now. No, he's not.
Nope.
He just moved down and let Derek Cope. Of course, Cope made a pit stop here a moment ago, and Earnhardt's going to let him go. But when Mark Martin was here in Atlanta doing all that testing last week, Earnhardt came down, was scheduled for a 2-day test. Now they run about a little over a half a day, loaded that thing back up, took it to North Carolina, and Dale went deer hunting.
Yep. See ya. It runs fine. Hey, remember this combination at Daytona? The 10 of Derek Cope and the 3 of Dale Earnhardt back in the very first race of 1990. And what a disappointment Dale suffered in that conclusion of the Daytona 500 that Derek Cope won. Boy, some nice hot air balloons off number 4, huh? It's pretty impressive.
You know, we were talking about Dale Earnhardt and the success he's had here in Atlanta. Kevin Clark just handed me a note. You know, this racetrack is under new ownership. Bruce Smith bought it about 6 weeks ago. Hope it doesn't do anything to Dale Earnhardt's luck here.
There's Jack Roush with a hat on, studying the situation for Mark Martin. He's going to be watching this very critical pit stop that's coming up in the next few laps by Dale Earnhardt. The crew is moving out onto pit road. Yes, indeed. Here comes Dale Earnhardt for the final scheduled time this afternoon in Jerry Punch.
Indeed, a long season, some 10 months and 25,000 miles of travel. This should be the final stop for 1990 for the Goodrich crew. Can they make it flawless? Can they get him out and let him win the championship? Left side tires only. No right side tires. Cooper Gordon leans over and checks the right side tires. They're going to hold him here and get him plenty full of fuel. Now he's off 12.1 seconds. He is down and away.
Well, Jerry only has 36 laps to go, so he should have been able to get enough fuel in that Chevrolet that he can go the rest of the way. Bill Elliott now has taken the lead.
Indeed, Elliott back in command of this race.
And Earnhardt got out in front of him. If there should be a caution, then Earnhardt would remain in the lead lap.
And he has plenty of distance between himself and Elliott, so he does not stand to go a lap down. Nice pit stop by Dale Earnhardt. As Bill Elliott passes underneath in turn number 4, some very impressive hot air balloons that have lifted off.
Would you love to be at one of those things, Bob?
You want to know the truth? No, because I did it about 10 years ago, and I vowed then that I'd never do it again. I love to fly, and I love to be in the air, but that was not particularly comfortable for me. We'll be back with more from Atlanta Motor Speedway in a moment. Rick Wilson in car number 75. He took the 75 Vanderbilt car in the wall in turn number 4. Now he comes down the banking, but it does bring out a caution flag on lap 296. What, 32 laps from the end of the race.
So everybody will come in and put on 4 tires. There are 5 cars in the lead lap. They're Bill Elliott, Morgan Shepherd, Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Dale Jarrett. A break for some. Pit road is closed at the moment. Rick Wilson's car sitting up there pretty close.
Hey, thank you.
There we go. Earnhardt shall prevail now. Look at this. Got some other sky activity besides the hot air balloons. We have some fixed wing aircraft flying around also. Well, the pits are closed.
But unfortunately, Steve Grissom in his first Winston Cup race didn't realize what that meant. He comes in the pits. So you know that NASCAR is going to penalize him for that move.
Looked like the field was fixed behind the pace car. It could have been that they closed
Rick Wilson
pit
is
road.
sitting down there with an ambulance going to the car.
That's the reason why pit road is closed. The ambulance in Rick Wilson's car is right at the entrance of pit road, and so they have kept it closed. And there is the car that you mentioned, Benny. But Steve Grissom.
I blame Steve Grissom for coming in. That's not true. He was out of fuel. That's why he had to come in.
Steve's done some amazing things in Busch Grand National Racing this year and making Winston Cup start here this afternoon. Rick Wilson is moving around in the car. He appears to be okay. He did hit the 4th turn wall pretty hard, though, in that Vanderbilt car. So the yellow flag is out, and pit road for the moment is closed. We'll take another break and be back with more of our live coverage here at Atlanta. Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, and Dale Jarrett. 6 through 10, Darrell Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, Mark Martin, and Hud Strickland. Now, Rick Wilson has walked away from his accident up in turn number 4. However, pit road remains closed. There goes the car on the hook. The ambulance is pulled away from the area, but still we have a safety truck up there, and so the pits are still closed.
I guess there's some debris up there, and they're trying to get that cleaned up before the cars drive across it and maybe puncture a tire.
Well, don't forget tonight, settle back, and at 7 o'clock Eastern time, you can catch up on what happened today in the NFL while you're watching our race here this afternoon. NFL prime time, that's at 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight on ESPN, followed by the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals at live at 8 o'clock tonight here on ESPN. I think you're right, Benny. You can see the guy picking up some debris up there in turn number 4, so that's one of the reasons why the pit area is still closed.
And we saw him key the radio. I would imagine he's telling the NASCAR officials, it's okay, we'll open it up the next time.
You can also tell because he's moving behind that wall and getting out of the way.
Exactly. And Hud Strickland is stalled on the back straightaway. Looks like he is out of gas.
A 10th place car.
Yep.
And Davey Allison's going to push him.
Okay, that's all in the family.
How about that?
Yeah, that's good sportsmanship. Davey lost a number of laps in the pits. When we saw that smoke come from his car, we thought he might be out of the race, but they worked on it a while and got him back in, so he's a number of laps down. So now giving his dad's car a push, which is very sportsmanlike.
That car owned by his dad, Bobby, and Davey gives Hud a push back to the pit area. Pit road is open. Here comes the field down for their pit stops. Here comes Bill Elliott and Darrell Waltrip. Will go to John Kernan first.
Bill Elliott expected to take on 4 tires. This is something they did not want to see.
Oh, look out, look out!
Oh, my gosh. Ricky Rudd got tapped in, one of Elliott's crewmen, underneath the cars. He came flying in. Now they push Ricky Rudd's car away. Oh, my. Now they tell Ricky not to stop because Ricky did come in contact with a couple of crewmen. Now Bill sitting in the car. Now let's go down pit road to Jerry Punch.
Well, it should be a 4-tire change for Dale Earnhardt. They've already changed the right side tires. The crew dusted around the left side. Kurt Shelburne removing the left front tire. The left rear tire already going on. Can of fuel going in the car. They are watching to make sure every lug nut is in place. Earnhardt is down and away.
Earnhardt moving back out onto pit road while there is still considerable concern up pit road for the incident that has occurred up there behind the Bill Elliott car that's involved Ricky Rudd, and the ambulance is on the scene. Here is a replay of what happened.
We see Bill Elliott stop. We see the car go to work. Here comes Ricky Rudd. The car just spins. The rear wheels lock up, and he just slams into the right rear of the Bill Elliott car, and the right rear tire changer is in there. Also, the tire carrier, I believe, was hit.
Here comes Rudd's car in. You see the right rear tire changer did not know that car was coming, and the jack man was hit as well.
Folks, I'm sorry to yell, but, you know, we know these people. They're family, and I saw it coming, and that's why I just...
We have seen so many, and you can see Dr. Jerry Punch is on the scene. We have seen too much of this in racing, incidents on pit road, and, you know, there was conversation the other night on NASCAR Live, which is a radio program done each week by Eli Gold. And there was a conversation at that point about the possibility of doing pit stops and lining everybody back up on the racetrack exactly the way they were when they came in for a pit stop, and avoiding this scrambling in the pits and everybody being on pit road at the same time. I don't know. It's something that maybe should be given some thought. We certainly want to do anything we can to avoid incidents like this. So the injured individual is being tended to down on pit road as the Atlanta Journal 500 is now 27 laps from completion. An incident has occurred on pit road, injuring a member of the Bill Elliott crew. You can see he is being loaded onto a stretcher right now, being placed in the ambulance. Dr. Jerry Punch there to offer any assistance that he could to the injured crewman. Let's take a look again at what happened as Bill Elliott was pulling in Ricky Rudd. Something happened to Rudd's car.
It had to, because no one was close to him, and all of a sudden it looked like the right rear wheel is locked up on it, and he has no control over the car, and it just slams into Elliott's car with the people there working on it.
This is all too familiar, because Bill Elliott had the same thing happen to him. In Riverside just a few years ago.
Yep.
Watch the guys try to get the 5 car off the right rear tire changer. He's laying underneath the 5 car.
The jackman obviously was injured too. He was struck from behind, but I don't think he was nearly as seriously injured as perhaps the right rear tire changer. We'll not speculate on who was involved or how, of course, serious the injuries are until we get definite, absolute word from the racetrack or the NASCAR officials.
Bill Elliott's car, I mean, if you're a Bill Elliott fan, his car is injured. He's not going to win the race. I'm sure that's not of concern to Bill Elliott right now, or any of the crew, because there was some damage to the automobile that he's not going to be able to win the race, but they're just trying to finish it. Again, even if he could win the race, I'm sure it would be a very hollow victory for him.
Yes, it would.
Of course, you know, when we talk about points, he is in 3rd place in the Winston Cup point standing. Jeff Bodine is in 4th, and both of them in the top 5 here right now in this race.
That's Steve Meal right there on the right rear working on Bill Elliott's car.
From Mark Martin's crew that has offered any assistance that he can to get...
That's what I mean, we're family.
Yep. And so the race will resume shortly here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but right now we remain under caution. Atlanta Motor Speedway, the final event of 1990 for the Winston Cup Series here in Atlanta, where the title is on the line between Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. The race has been marred by what appears to be a very serious incident on pit road involving one of the crew members on Bill Elliott's team. Ricky Rudd slamming into the back of the Elliott car as Rudd was making a pit stop. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who was, of course, momentarily a doctor, attending to the injured person and doing what he can. Jerry, what's the story?
Well, the 2 people injured, the right rear tire changer, of course, on the Elliott car, and also Tommy Cole, the jackman. Now, they have taken both of them to the infield. The right rear tire changer, the most seriously the 2 injured. He was conscious when we were working with him on the ground a little bit ago, and at this point in time, it's just too early to tell. He took quite a lick there and took him to the infield care center. Tommy Cole, the jack man on the right side, got hit in the back. He was awake and alert, complaining of some lower back pain. He'll be taken in for x-rays, but he should be okay. So he is the least of the two injured. We'll try to give you a further update on the rear tire change.
All right, thank you very much, Jerry. And I'm sure from everybody at NASCAR and everybody in the pit area, thank you for your assistance and your work, not only as a fine pit reporter, but also a physician. Laps continue to click away. However, we are still under yellow, as this situation in the pit area will have to be straightened completely out before we get back to green flag racing. That shouldn't be too long, however. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Cars are lining up on the racetrack for a restart. We are going to go back to green here on lap number 307, and this race is 328. 5 cars on the lead lap, led by Morgan Shepherd, then Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, Dale Jarrett, and Bill Elliott. Those 5 cars on the lead lap. The other championship contender, Mark Martin, is in 8th. Again, 2 people have been injured on pit road because of an incident. Tommy Cole appears to be the least seriously injured. No word on the condition of right rear tire changer Mike Witt. And so the green flag is about to drop once again on Atlanta Motor Speedway, and perhaps the conclusion of the 1990 season under green flag.
Bill Elliott had been in the pits, and you'll see him come into the picture there in just a moment. I think up on the high side, he's supposed to be behind Dale Jarrett, but no, there he comes. You can see the front of the car just at the top side of the racetrack. That's the green flag race.
21 laps to go. 21 to go for the conclusion of the 1990 Winston Cup season. Can Morgan Shepherd hold on for victory?
He almost won it here in March.
May give Ford their championship if Morgan Shepherd can win. We've been talking all day about how
can't do it. If Earnhardt finishes ahead of any other brand of car, they would be tied, and then Chevrolet would get the championship. A Buick, a Pontiac, or an Oldsmobile has to finish in front of a Chevrolet for Ford to get the championship.
To hold on with now Jeff Bodine. Ooh, look at the scramble here. Jarrett and Darrell Waltrip, Rusty Wallace, and Mark Martin as Mark continues to fight for the championship.
Darrell Waltrip and Rusty Wallace went almost to the wall together up in turn 1 the last lap.
Dale Jarrett just drove under him. Speed it was before, fellas. He still is running, certainly still in the lead lap, running in 5th place, but he is losing ground to the leaders.
There comes Mark Martin, trying to win his first Winston Cup championship. Ooh, and look at that sun. The racetrack just goes completely away.
Boy, you have a blind spot there. That is tough.
Correction on the last name of the injured crewman for the Bill Elliott team was Mike Rich. Not Mike Witt, Mike Rich. That was the right rear tire changer and who is in the medical care center here at the hospital being attended to. Mark Martin is a lap down to the field in 8th position. Dale Earnhardt is on the lead lap and is in 3rd, right behind Shepherd and Bodine.
In March, the 15 car Morgan Shepherd and the 3 car Dale Earnhardt were the 2 cars that battled it out for the victory. Dale Earnhardt was able to win in March. Can Morgan Shepherd turn the tables and win the Atlanta Journal 500? He's got a break because Dale Earnhardt, first of all, has to get by the 11 car of Jeff Bodine. And that may be just enough for Morgan Shepherd to be able to drive away, because it doesn't look like Jeff can get Morgan.
Now, fellas, does Dale Earnhardt get a little conservative here right now? Mark Martin being allowed down and not get up there and take any chances? I mean, you know, if he finishes the race, he's got the championship. So does it turn now? I mean, you know, a while back he needed to run and lead and try to win the race, but right now he needs to win the championship.
He needs perhaps, Greg, is change his race strategy and just stay right there and take it easy?
I think so, but now certainly if he gets an opportunity, he's going to go on up there, but I don't believe he'll take any big chances to do it. What to prove it all.
Hey, I would not say Dale Earnhardt would not try to do anything. I've seen him do some unbelievable things with a race car. Black flag for Bill Elliott in the car 9. Evidently, he's got some sheet metal running or something. I don't know what the problem is, but NASCAR has black flag.
Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt came into this race tied for a number of wins here at Atlanta. If Dale can win, of course, that would be his 7th, and he would be the all-time leader. But right now, he's got to pass both Jeff Bodine and Morgan Shepherd to get that done. Morgan Shepherd's last win, by the way, in Winston Cup competition with 15 laps to go was here in Atlanta in March of 1986. He won the Motorcraft 500.
He was driving for Jack Beebe, who no longer is a race car owner. 130 races since that event. Bill Elliott has earned the bonus points for leading the most laps here today. That could help him in his battle with Jeff Bodine for that 3rd position.
In our closing laps, let's thank some ESPN people. Peter Engelhardt, Neil, Mike, Gary, Pam, Jenny, Ralph, Chevy, Chuck, Lynn, Tom, Russ, Kevin, Kenny, Lynn. Thank you very much for providing for us the pictures and everything else that is a part of ESPN's award-winning auto racing telecast.
Pancho Carter has hit the wall coming off turn 4. There still is no caution flag. Pancho has the car under control, and NASCAR is watching to see if he can make it back around, because right now they don't want a caution flag to determine the outcome.
Pancho will run the entire season next year in this car, or at least those are his plans right now. Of course, he's going to give up IndyCar racing to do that. We're talking about people who have turned the fastest laps at this racetrack. Well, it isn't anybody that was in the field today except Pancho Carter, because he's driven on this racetrack in IndyCar competition and gone about 195 miles an hour.
Here's some battles for position. There's Rusty Wallace in the car number 27, who is currently being shown.
Oh, boy. Derek Cope just almost on. Sorry, Ned.
That's okay. Kurt Cope shown in 14th position, 2 laps down. Rusty should be the 6th place car. Well, no, he's shown in 8th position. Mark Martin would be the 6th place car. Ernie Irvin would be 7th, and then Rusty Wallace in 8th, and Alan Kowicki 9th.
So that's a spot for him. That is a race for 8th spot between Kowicki and Rusty Wallace.
Caution period we had kind of ruined this battle that we were going to see with the checkered flag regarding fuel, because it allowed everybody to come in and, of course, get enough to finish the race. But it would have been very interesting to see who would have won had the race gone green for the entire distance.
It would have, and I think Bill Elliott would have been the man.
Yep.
And now he has come into the pits, has gone a lap down. He's black flag for whatever the problem was on his Tourist Sport. He has gone a lap down. Darrell Walton has moved into 5th place. Darrell is 1 lap down.
3 left. We have 9 laps to go, right, Benny?
That's exactly right. Bill Elliott, who's now slow on the inside, has been a lap. He is a lap down, and as Ned said, that could be 3rd spot in the Winston Cup points, and it's worth about $60,000.
I think it's 65, yep.
I think 30 points separating the two going in. Bill Elliott had a 30-point lead. He has led a lap and led the most laps, so he has 10 bonus points. But I think Jeff has 5 bonus points.
Yep, there's Morgan Shepherd pulling away from Jeff Bodine. He's with 8 laps to go, and here's Earnhardt. Now there's Dale Jarrett coming up, catching Dale Earnhardt. Yep. I think Earnhardt's fooling it, fellas. He's looking at that $1 million. He ought to be.
He ought to be.
Yes, sir.
It's within sight now. Just stay right there and let it come to you.
I think he would be foolish to do anything else but to sit there and ride in a comfortable position. See nobody out in front of him, not close to any cars. He sees Dale Jarrett coming up in his rearview mirror. He figures Dale won't mess with him too much and cause any big problems.
Well, that will not mean anything for the championship. It will mean a loss of 5 points between one position and another, but he's still got a comfortable 6-point pad on Mark Martin. Mark, meanwhile, well, what can you say about the season that this team, this driver has had? They have just been, well, great is about the only way you can say it. He led from Sears Point until just 2 weeks ago at Phoenix when he lost the points lead and came to Atlanta with a 6-point difference. But things, despite the fact that they came here and tested last week and found what they thought was going to be the car to take him to victory, it didn't happen.
Now he's going to try to get that 5th position. He was moving up on Darrell Waltrip there. That would be for position. He's going to try to get in.
So many interesting things have happened in this Winston Cup season as the 7 car has gotten himself ahead of the 27 with 5 laps to go. You know, you mentioned the 46 points that Martin was penalized at Richmond, but there's so many other things that you also have to look at, like the last quarter lap at Daytona.
I asked Steve Meal about that last Tuesday. I said, what about the 46 points in Richmond? He said, that's history.
Yeah, it is.
That's old news.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
Mark has now passed the car number 17 of Darrell Waltrip and is on the leaderboard in top 5.
Mark Martin and Darrell Waltrip battling side by side for 5th position, and Mark has it.
But there's still 4 laps to go. If that 3 car can just keep running, he's okay. But just will keep going.
That's all he's got to do is circle this racetrack. There's Richard Childers, his car owner. Fingernail biting time, fellas.
3 laps to go. Dale Earnhardt is on his way to another Winston Cup championship. He isn't going to win the race, but he is going to win the championship if things can hold on for just 2.5 more laps.
Now, Dale Jarrett, who's running there in 4th place right behind Earnhardt, if he can finish where he is, it'll be his best finish ever in Winston Cup competition. He has a couple of 5th place finishes, but not a 4th.
And you know, we talk about the Manufacturers Championship. Ford is going to win the race. They'll gain 3 points. But as Chevrolet looks like it's going to finish 2nd, they only gain 3 points. It's tied. The tiebreaker, most wins, and I think it's Chevrolet 12, Ford 11.
Right.
Wow, that's close.
That Chevrolet would win the Manufacturers Championship again. There's Morgan Shepherd, who is the leader of the race on his way to victory. His 2nd win here in Atlanta and his 3rd career Winston Cup victory.
Turn 4, white flag.
There's Earnhardt. 1 more lap around the 1.5-mile racetrack here at Atlanta, and the salutes begin to both Morgan Shepherd and Dale Earnhardt. Morgan Shepherd from Conover, North Carolina, twice runner-up this year in Winston Cup competition, here at Atlanta in March and at Charlotte in the 2nd race. Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, North Carolina, and the Richard Childress crew are about to win the Winston Cup Championship and all the prestige and the $1 million that goes with it. Here's the checkered flag. Morgan Shepherd wins. Jeff Bodine crosses in 2nd. Dale Earnhardt finishes 3rd and wins the Winston Cup. He becomes only the 2nd driver to win the championship more than 3 times. And Mark Martin is going to finish this race in 5th position. There's Richard Childress. Let's go to John Kernan.
With the Richard Childress, very happy Richard Childress, fist raised in the air. It's a sweet victory for y'all. You didn't win the race, but your Earnhardt's 4th championship, your 3rd.
Yeah, it's a great victory for the GM Goodrich Chevrolet, and you know, I think we won the Manufacturers Cup. We're just happy as we can be, but our prayers are with the 9 team right now.
Richard Childress thinking of others in this moment of triumph for himself and his team.
It is the 4th for Dale Earnhardt, the 3rd for Richard Childress. It's the 1st since Goodrich became his primary sponsor.
I'm going to take him a drink.
It's been a long season. It's over. Morgan Shepherd has won the race, and Dale Earnhardt is the Winston Cup champion by 26 points. It's over. Morgan Shepherd wins the race. Jeff Bodine finishes 2nd. Dale Earnhardt finishes 3rd and wins the Winston Cup. Dale Jarrett 4th, and Darrell Waltrip finishes in 5th position. Our Speed World coverage has been brought to you by Xerex Anti-Freeze Coolant. The temperature never drops below Xerex. By Ace Hardware Corporation, Ace is the place. And by Quaker State, the Big Q is one tough motor oil. And one tough race driver is the 1990 Winston Cup champion, Dale Earnhardt. Here's Cherry Punch.
Well, indeed, Dale Earnhardt, the 1990 Winston Cup champion, and a big smile. Hey, congratulations.
Thank the good Lord for a good year for first thing, but you know, the Jim Goodwrench guys, they come through again. This car ran good today. We got a little bit loose on that last set of tires. It just wasn't perfect, and you know, we just couldn't win the race, but we still ran respectable all day, and won the championship, and that's what mattered. Hey, Badger.
Taylor, Nicole, and Teresa, his wife, and young daughter getting in here as they are all getting. Dale, they were keeping you posted as they surrounded us now. They were keeping you posted on where Mark was all afternoon. I know you had to be concerned, but he started running pretty well toward the middle of the race.
Well, he was, and we were running together there a little bit, and we kept working with it, and got the car a little better, but I was a little on the loose side there.
Indeed, a $1.7 million now, and in a couple of weeks you'll walk on the stage in New York, and from these fine folks in Winston, you'll take home another $1 million.
We'll take it. We've had a good year, you know. The guys have been working hard all year long, and we've been fighting back ever since '87 trying to win another one. And it's been a long time coming. You know, we were close 2 years in a row there, and Rusty got us for 12 last year, so we're happy to get it this year. We're really happy for everybody that helped us, and really appreciate everybody's help and all the fan support this year. It's been a great year for us.
You said it would take a lot to make up for that last lap at Daytona. This must do it.
Well, it does. The championship means a lot to us, and we'll go back to Daytona '91, try to get one. I reckon we ought to have a Dale Wynn sale at the Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet in Newton tomorrow and the next day, maybe 2-day sale. Come on up and get you a car.
Oh, it just doesn't forget anything, does it? The 1990 Winston Cup champion here. Let's go over the road handler winner's circle where Morgan Shepherd is standing by with John Gurney.
Morgan wiping off his face. A tough day's work, but you came home with the win.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank God. You know, I've never gave up faith in myself or in this team. You know, I was just very fortunate to end up with Motorcraft and Ford and Bud Moore, and we've been pulling together all year, gaining strength, and today we had the strength.
What did you learn from the test last week down here?
Well, the last race we ran here, we ran second with this car, and we had a pushing problem. And in the test, we was able to overcome that. Matter of fact, we ran pretty loose quite a few times during the race, and it made it hard for me to work traffic. But once we got our right set of tires on, we had one good set of tires that we knew was fast, and we saved them for the end of the day and was fortunate to get them on.
Morgan Shepherd, the winner of the Atlanta Journal 500.
And our congratulations to Morgan Shepherd and to Dale Earnhardt, who has come home as champion here this afternoon. We've still got more as we conclude the 1990 Winston Cup season. The race is over, but we got a lot to talk about, and we'll continue right after this. Is taking a lap around Atlanta Motor Speedway. He has given himself the Winston Cup Championship. He has given Chevrolet the Manufacturers Championship, and look what kind of car he's riding around Atlanta Motor Speedway in. It's a Mustang.
Yeah, he probably doesn't even know what brand of car he's in right now.
Well, it may not be a Mustang, but it's a Ford product, that's for sure. But a great year for Dale Earnhardt, who is being interviewed now by the radio. He's the second driver to win more than 3 Winston Cup championships. He's the first to win it in a black car since Buck Baker in 1957, and he's the third title in a car, number 3. Dale Earnhardt's longest losing streak this season was 5 races from Richmond in September to Phoenix. Let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with Mark Martin.
Well, Mark sitting solemnly and quietly on the back of the Folgers Ford that carried him so many times this year. Mark, a gallant effort.
Well, it really was. And I want to first of all thank all the race fans that have rallied behind us. And they've really been supportive of us this year. It's unbelievable. And obviously Ford and Folgers and Valvoline and Jack Roush, Steve and all the guys. It's been a great year. It's tough. You know, it's a tough one to lose. We got beat by the best. And, I mean, that Dale Earnhardt's been sitting behind the wheel of the best race cars he's ever sat down in this year. He was going to be tough to tangle with. And we gave him all he could stand, and we'll be stronger next year. These 4 or 6 weeks that we have, that we don't have to go racing. We're going to build some good stuff. We're going to come on strong next year.
Well, you had a great season this year, Mark, an outstanding year to come just in 3 years from pretender to contender last year, winning that first one to possible title this year. I mean, what a tremendous range you guys have come in just 3 short years.
It's been really great. All the credit, goes to Jack Roush and Steve Neal and the people that they were managed to assemble in the shops in Michigan and in North Carolina. The guys got a lot, all the guys have a lot of heart. They want to win this thing, and we will win this championship one day next year.
Well, he is not a champion as far as the Winston Cup's concerned, but in a lot of eyes around the country, he is a champion. Mark, congratulations on a great year.
Thank you.
Indeed, Mark Martin, a great season, but there is the winner of the Winston Cup as he now goes down the backstretch, receiving the applause of the thousands of race fans who have gathered here this afternoon, saluting Dale Earnhardt as the champion.
Well, he has 9 victories so far this year in the Goodwrench Chevrolet, and when all the money is added up in a few weeks, he's going to have maybe close to $3 million for the year.
And let's go to John Kernan, who is with Jeff Bodine.
Jeff, second place finish, also a big leap in the points for you.
That's right. A good run. The guys really worked hard, and I worked hard. I got some blisters. I want to say hi to Kathy, Matt, Barry, Mike. You home tonight, I hope. Love everybody. But it was a good race for us. The car ran strong at times, and one time after a restart, we just pulled the straightaway ahead. Of course, then they caught back up, but we were strong at the end. We had a couple exhaust pipes break. You heard the engine make some funny noises. So that probably cost us 15, 20 horsepower. And at the end, it looked like it. Morgan just pulled away. He was awful strong. Good run, Morgan. But it wasn't a bad year. I told the guys it was a good run. Like to have won, naturally. But we'll be back next year.
Jeff Bodine, second place finisher, told me this morning he was going to take some time off. One day.
Jeff Bodine, second here at Atlanta this afternoon. There's Dale Earnhardt. He has won the Winston Cup Championship for 1990. We'll be right back. Atlanta this afternoon. Morgan Shepherd, Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, the champion, Dale Jarrett, and Darrell Waltrip. Finishing 6th was Mark Martin, 7th Ernie Irvan, then Alan Kowicki, Rusty Wallace, and Greg Sachs. 11 through 15, Derek Cope, Hud Strickland, Michael Waltrip, Bill Elliott, and Ricky Rudd. And then completing the top 20, Ken Schrader, Richard Petty, Brett Bodine, Harry Gant, and Terry Labonte. Both drivers acknowledge the fans, and we might mention that Dale Earnhardt is leading in the balloting for most popular driver, another distinction that will probably be given him at the awards banquet in New York City in a couple of weeks.
And something he's looking forward to.
Yes.
He told me the other day he hasn't won that, and he felt like that to go down as a real race car driver with all the success he's had, he needed to win that.
And something else that he cherishes very much, certainly another Winston Cup championship, but the fact that you mentioned that he's only the second driver to win more than 3. Of course, Richard Petty is the man who has won more than anybody with 7. But he is setting his goals on Richard Petty. He said in a press conference here on Friday, he said, Richard Petty's the king. And he said, it'd be awfully nice to win that. He said, I like to feel that I got maybe 7, 8, 10 more years to go. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can catch him.
Very, very possible, the way that he drives a race car. Well, I guess we could talk a few minutes. Instead, let's go to Jerry Punch, who's with Darrell Waltrip. Had a great day.
Darrell, a great way to finish out your year. Tremendous run today.
Well, we run well, and I'm really excited about ending the year the way we have and getting going for next year. We struggled some early this year, but right when I got hurt, things were turning around, and then when I got back in the car, the guys have been fantastic, and we're looking forward to 91 and Western Auto, and praise the Lord for a good day today. Congratulations to Morgan and to Mr. Earnhardt. Heck, only got 4 now. I guess I'll have to get another next year.
Let's go to John Kernan. With Jack Roush here. Jack, 3rd year in existence. 2nd place, you gave it all you got. Not a bad year, though.
We're real happy with the year. We didn't start winning races as soon as we thought we would. The first year we didn't win a race. The second year, last year we only won 1 race, and this year we just won 3. We've got to be able not only to be as consistent and durable as we've been this year, but we've got to, on the average, we've got to run better than we have. And this winter we're going to do a lot of testing, and we'll of course think a lot about our program and make it stronger in some ways. But we're real happy with the year. Mark and Steve and have done a super job. Folgers and Dowling have helped us a lot, and we're real happy.
Thank you, Jack, and look out for them. 4th year, maybe their year.
And thanks to Ned and Benny and everybody that worked our telecast, let's right now finish up with the look at the second half of the 1990 Winston Cup season. Ford won the race. Dale Earnhardt finished in third position and won the 1990 Winston Cup. It's been a great season, and we've thanked a lot of people. The people that we need to thank the most, you, the race fan. You're what makes Winston Cup racing and our coverage of ESPN. We'll see you each week at Speed Week, but until Darlington 1991 in the Trans-South 500, this is